mockingbird to control the narrative. CIA infiltration, media manipulation, so elaborate. Targeting black communities, tearing down our pride. Attacking our women, our men, our history, our stride. From education to entertainment, they're trying to erase our legacy, our culture, our very own pace. Took our men out of schools, put them in the jail system. Left our women handling bills with no emotional support, it's a scheme. They destroyed our museums, took away our history, trying to make us forget our ancestors' legacy. But we won't be silenced, we'll rise above. We'll reclaim our narrative, our truth, our love. Operation Mockingbird, a web of deceit, manipulating minds, our communities to be. But we're waking up, seeing the truth. Our voice is loud, our resistance in you. They took Michael Jordan, tried to make him a joke, tried to erase our greatness, our cultural stroke. But we're still standing, our history won't fade. We'll keep it alive, our legacy won't be erased. From civil rights to black power, our struggle's real. They tried to silence us, but our voices are still. Our community colleges, they tried to dismantle, but we're building our own with knowledge and with battle. Epstein's files, they're trying to distract, keep the focus off the truth, our people's contracts. They're trying to hide their plan to destroy our communities, our families, our girls, our boys. But we won't be fooled, we'll keep it real. We'll expose the truth, we'll make it feel. Our resistance is growing, our voices are loud. We'll take back our narrative, we'll break the mold. Black people ain't the ones trying to take Jordan down. He's clean, but Epstein's files are wearing the crown. It's a distraction, trying to shift the blame, keeping the focus off the Epstein game. Operation Mockingbird, a web of deceit, manipulating minds, our communities to be. But we're waking up, seeing the truth. Our voice is loud, our resistance in you. Blue shadows fall, the mockingbird sings. CIA whispers, media winks, spreading lies, controlling minds, targeting communities, leaving scars behind. Operation Mockingbird aimed at the core. Black communities hit, Panthers on the floor. FBI informants sowing discord and fear. COINTELPRO tactics wending clear. They infiltrated, they manipulated our game. Use our own brothers to bring us pain. The Black Panthers targeted leaders in chains. Fred Hampton murdered his dreams in vain. Media distortion twisted the truth, portrayed us as thrifts, fueled the youth, took our message of power, turned it to rage, left our communities fractured in a cage. Culture experiments, mind control games, used our people like pawns in their flames. They wanted us broken, divided and weak, but our spirit remains, our voices won't speak. From Chicago to LA, the struggle's real. They tried to silence us, but our message will prevail. The mockingbird song won't be the end. Our voices will rise, our people will transcend.
Well, all right. Once again, it's on, ladies and gentlemen. Well, all right. Once again, it's on, putting it down for you and yours. This is The Lion's Den. The segment title, The Conversation Continues. And we are your host. You have the seventh answer, Lady Karima, engineering all that you're hearing. And then you have your brother and your friend, your servant, Malachi, aka Dark Storm, aka Baby Hebrew. And we give our honor to the Lord in Christ, from whom all positive thoughts flow. And understand that when you tune into the Lion's Den, from city to city and state to state, Lady Karima is gonna keep us all regular, like K.O. Pecte, baby. It is what it is. Okay? And of course, you're tuning into a very relaxing but still intense truthality listening experience. And you know, as always, in full effect is the seven eyes, the formula which makes this machine work. And that is the intelligence, the inspiration, the integrity, the insight, information, and of course, pride, fulfilling independence. And speaking of pride, when you roll with the Lions, then you know you're rolling with the pride. And we're always permanently ready and destroying evil, starting with our own. Because you know, Lady Karima and myself, we don't walk around as Mrs. or Mr. Perfect. We understand we have our flaws. But through it all, everything that we face, struggles, trials, and tribulations, we still rise to our godlike self in both masculine and feminine form to bring to you out there in Lion's Den land your much needed spiritual food. And you know that we're one of the many forms of the anti-coon movement. You know, those complete, obvious, obedient, yes, the boss niggas, that's not us. We don't do that here. Ever. Why? Because we can't be bought, and more importantly, we can't be sold. And when you tune to the Lions, then you also know this is the home of point counterpoint. Sometimes we may not always see eye to eye, but still, in love, in integrity, we may have our mental joust, okay, on differing points of views and opinions, but the beauty of it all is this here. We show that it's okay to respect other people's opinions as long as it's relevant and intelligent. And of course, besides the seven eyes, there is the biblical foundation. Two scriptures, just two, which makes up the Lion's Den also. And our attitude when we come here night to night, day to day, depending on what time zone you are out there listening to this broadcast in. And that's always Isaiah the 41st chapter, verse 21 through 24. But we keep it on 21, which tells us what? To be ready to what? Produce our cause, bring forth our strong evidence in all its facets, which leads to 1 Thessalonians, the 5th chapter, verse 21, which tells us what? Be ready, willing, and able at all times to prove all things, hold fast to that which is good. And the truth is good. The Lion's Den is good. Lady Karima, good. I'm good. Because our God is good. It's just that simple. And our Lord and Savior, can't leave him out. He's good. So with all that goodness, hey, you know you're being hit also with Virgo energy. That's right. We are analytical, political, critical, but we strive never to be hypocritical. And we bring also to the table here in the Lion's Den the facts, y'all. And you know what the facts are. That's frequently accurate, correct truths. Now we know that some of you out there, you tune in and you strive to listen to us, but you like being lied to. You are comfortable in that bubble of illusion, and you come here maybe hoping that we will go off and start lying to you. Now, if you're that kind of personality that you can't handle a beautiful truthality, a listening experience, well, the seventh answer and myself, we give you always our deepest sympathies because we're not going to compromise for nobody. So you can leave right now. You can go. No one's going to miss you. Everything will be okay. And last but not least, you know when you come into the Lion's Den, the house rules set forth by our beautiful sister in faith, I Am Manna. You ought to wipe your feet, mind your manners, conduct yourself in an orderly manner, and enjoy yourself. Because at any given time you got a line, well, the seventh answer will break you down with the quickness, work you out, like physical fitness. Hit you with so many, get up out of here so fast, not even a Jehovah will witness. That's real talk. And see, understand, like when our fellow Virgo Big Daddy, rapper Big Daddy Kane, also understand that when you step into the Lion's Den, like Big Daddy Kane and Heat Wave, yo, ain't no half stepping, because you got the seventh answer and baby Hebrew. We are your spiritual lyrical Smith and Wessons, and we're armed with the truth, and we are dangerous to liars because we know how to use it. And oh yeah, like the late great Curtis Mayfield and Aretha Franklin, we are giving you what you can feel. And speaking of Aretha Franklin, today is her birthday, I think it is. So happy heavenly birthday to the spirit we once knew as the Queen of Soul, Aretha Franklin. And now, with all these formalities out the way, we're going to continue from last night, last broadcast, just delayed the fall of America's dad. We talking about all things in the Cosby connection. Now, when we left off last night, the seventh answer was asking a highly intense question. And that is, hey, yo, from the outset of Bill Cosby and that whole situation he got caught up with Andrea Constant, why would he have even taken a deal like that in the first place? Why did he take that deal? Well, I was so moved by her passion in asking the question. We went out here and we found the answers. So we're going to go through a litany of different issues, okay? And also, I have now resolved within myself to put away my ego and recognize that I can't retain everything by heart or rote memorization. And I'm going to start writing things down every now and again. So that way, when we bring you these presentations, I don't have no brain freeze or brain fog. And so, we're going to get the party started. All right. Lady Karima asks so vehemently and intense, like, why would Bill Cosby accept such a deal? This, the deal that wound up getting him double jeopardized for lack, I know I'm saying it wrong, or you're double jeopardize, double jeopardy, whatever applies, okay? Where he had made a deal, and you had then District Attorney for the state of Pennsylvania, Bruce Castor, cut him a deal saying that that's Mr. Cosby, Bill Cosby, if he just says he had an incident with Andrew Constant, dealing with indecent, aggravated sexual assault, that wouldn't be held against him. Any prosecutorial criminal charges would not be brought up against him. And taking the advice of his business consultants in that time frame, Mr. Cosby unwisely took the deal. But see, the thing was, Bruce Castor made it clear to Mr. Cosby that even if he were to discontinue being the district attorney, the deal he made would be binding, perpetual, meaning that no one could come behind him and renege the deal or pull the deal. And so Mr. Cosby took the deal. He I'm gonna say unwisely took the deal. Okay? Because as it would wind up happening, because you know how Native Americans say white men speak with forked tongue, or some white men speak with forked tongue. You had the new district attorney, Kevin Steele. He got the right name. I spell it Steal. Kevin Steele. And hold on, you all. Kevin Steele and the Me Too, how you say, Me Too, always in somebody's business, Gloria Allred, pull a backdoor deal. A backdoor deal about 12 or more years later, up from 2005, about 12 years later, and would bring Mr. Cosby up on criminal charges, reneging the deal that Bruce Castor had put into effect, which we were getting into last night, as we realized the whole issue on double jeopardy was in play. Okay? And lo and behold, the reason that Kevin Steele became the new district attorney of Pennsylvania in that time frame of 2005, going in 2006, you had Bruce Castor, who had refused to seek criminal charges against Mr. Cosby, because as I had divulged to you last night, a lot of the cases he thought would be, airtight by Mr. Cosby's accusers. Well, the cases were weak. I mean, weak, and he couldn't do anything with them. Out of here. So you only had the Andrea Constance case, if you want to call it that. And even in that, they had to make a deal. Well, we won't bring you up on the criminal charges if you cop to giving us a civil lawsuit where we can hit you up. He paid her $3 million, paid her way through school, and was mentoring her. Don't know how that could be possible, but yeah, that was the deal. But again, Mr. Cosby took that deal unwisely, listening to some of his business consultants, because The attitude being, yo, you have other things going on, and we have money, you have money, pay them off, and let's keep it moving. But 12 years later, that same deal would wind up biting Mr. Cosby in the behind. Kevin Steele, Gloria Allred, why they weren't disbarred for prosecutorial misconduct, reneging on a binding deal, thus breaking laws, mind you. All right. Why they weren't disbarred is beyond me. But the bottom line is, okay, once Kevin Steele, when he was running against Bruce Castor, when for the seat of being the new district attorney in Pennsylvania, Kevin Steele had promised all potential voters that where Bruce Castor refused to go after Bill Cosby because of weak cases, there really wasn't nothing he could come after Mr. Cosby by all those accusers, because some accusers were found to be, I won't say liar, I'm going to use the word embellishers and so inconsistent in their testimonies. But bottom line is, Kevin Steele said, I promise you, if you elect me, I'm going to go after him. And you know how that go. You're going to get that nigger? And he was voted in. And true to his word, he really went after Bill Cosby. And you had the law and the goalpost get moved, and he, along with Gloria Allred and the Me Too movement and anybody else that did not like Mr. William H. Cosby, shut him down. And ultimately, Mr. Cosby was hit with a 3 to 10 year prison charge. That's right. And then in 2021, a few years ago, just a few short years ago, the Pennsylvania Supreme Court finally got around to examining that case, examining the particulars, and yes, they found, wait a minute, man, hold on. Everything that was put upon Mr. Cosby was definitely illegal. How you gonna have a binding contract in the area of a deal made, and then you go behind Mr. Cosby's back and blindside him, and he gets railroaded into a 3 to 10 year prison sentence when he should not have been doing no time whatsoever? But here's what's going to happen tonight. We're going to give you a litany of different videos and different conversations, because what I did was I went out along and, found other opinions and people who may have had more intrinsic knowledge. And we're going to even give you that also in this broadcast. We're going to have a full examination of one of Mr. Cosby's lawyers, Tom Messerow. We're going to have a full breakdown of the case. All right. But we're going to show you videos along the way. We're going to have, the opinion of Eddie Griffin. I talked about the issue of that he gave a powerful breakdown and outlook on how the fact that no black man, in particular in Hollywood, in any in entertainment or any field, rich, prominent, and whatever, would never leave the field, leave the industry not being tainted. All right. We also touched on the fact last night that one of the problems we also have, you know, is the racial tinge, the deep, deep, deep racial tinge that come along with the case. And it just seems to me that here it is, we're knee deep in Jeffrey Epstein and pedophilia and your president and others out there who are involved allegedly in Jeffrey Epstein and all the madness surrounding the files. All of a sudden we get a blackface. All of a sudden, up 5 years from the Pennsylvania State Court ruling that Mr. Cosby should never be tried again on any issues concerning the accusations that were thrown out in court. We have a California case and court ruling involving Bill Cosby, you know, the whipping boy, the poster boy for everything wrong with pedophilia in the country. You know how they do. And I'm going to say they, you know what I'm talking about. But anyway, getting back on track. Yeah. A California jury awarded, what's this chick's name again? Donna Motzinger, a $19.2 million award that Mr. Cosby must pay because in 1972, he is alleged to have had his way with her against her will. Now, all I can say is, since this is the world that the Seventh Answer and myself and so many Gen Xers out there, this is the world that we've inherited. And one thing I've come to the conclusion, I'm sure others have as well, we all see that when it comes to the governing and when it comes to the rulership and ruling class in this country, we see that they're vindictive, they're unjust, and they don't like losing even when they're wrong. They won't stop. They're petty. And this is why it's so important that when you have the Lion's Den in full effect, that you out there take notes. Listen carefully. And if you come into the comment section via your Facebook listening or YouTube listening and you want to join the conversation, you'll find a link laid out for you. But if you come in here to join our conversation, please understand it's all about respect. It's all about being able to lay out your points. It's not about competing or being mean-spirited or antagonistic. But here it is. I want to say this for last, but okay, the Seventh Answer, we're going to follow her lead on this. We're going to make this first. Let's make this first. We're going to go into a full examination of the Cosby case by one of his lawyers, Tom Mesereau, who was the attorney who shut down Janice Dickinson, Beverly Daniels, and a few others who had accused Mr. Cosby. He shut them down using the full extent of the law and the powers of what's right to get them to back off Mr. Cosby with their embellishing. We won't say lying. They're embellishing. So we're going to do a full examination We're going to listen to him talk, and along the way, the seventh answer, we're going to give our, thoughts and opinions along the way. Under fair use, let's get it in as the conversation continues.
Here we go. Attorney Tom Messero, welcome back to Vlad TV.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor.
It was an honor when you sat down with us last time and, went into the various cases. Of course, the Michael Jackson case, the Suge Knight case, the Mike Tyson case. But the reason why you're here is because of your involvement in the Bill Cosby case. And just recently, Bill Cosby was freed after 3 years.
He's free. He cannot be retried. He cannot be re-prosecuted on these grounds. And that was a great announcement. I'm very, very happy for he and his family.
Yeah, I think a lot of people were very happy. I think overall, there's just a lot of celebration for Bill Cosby, which, you don't know was going to happen initially, but it seems like a lot of people are happy.
Well, the justice system finally prevailed. Unfortunately, he was put through 2 trials, some appeals, almost 3 years in prison, all of which should not have happened.
Yeah.
But eventually, the justice system saw the light and did the right thing. But he should not have been put through what he was put through, ever.
Music is one of the best ways to express your feelings. And that's why today we're going to do some.
Okay, I'm sorry about the ad. We are very sorry about the ads. They cannot be avoided. That's how these guys make their money. So we're going to continue on. Let's continue on.
Right. So the reason why you're here today is because when it comes to this trial and it comes to our viewers, people hear tidbits, people hear this, people hear that. But I actually want to go through the entire case with you from the beginning to what ultimately happened. And as someone that worked on this case, I think you're very familiar with it.
Yes.
So let's go ahead and start in the very beginning. So in 2005, Andrea Constant, who was a staff member at Temple University, said that she had been drugged and molested at his home a year earlier, right?
That's correct.
Okay. So she ended up filing both criminal and civil charges against him?
Yes. She went to the prosecution, made a police report, and she also filed a civil suit at one point.
Okay. Is it typical for people to file both criminal and civil at the same time? Because I thought that usually you file the criminal first, and if you win that, you automatically win the civil.
There's no particular way to do it. You can do either one before the other if you want to. People make police reports all the time that don't result in civil cases. People file civil cases that don't result in police reports, and some people do both.
Okay. So she went ahead and filed this case, and 13 other women, 12 of whom remain anonymous, agreed to be witnesses who claim to be familiar with similar accounts of sexual assault by Bill Cosby.
I won't comment on that. I'm not going to comment on any accusers, including Ms. Constant.
Okay.
I will comment on Bill Cosby, who I know.
Got it. Well, I'm just laying out the whole case, and you don't have to comment on it, but I just want everyone to know the extent of everything that happens. Okay. So in that case, he ended up doing a deposition.
In the civil case?
In the civil case.
Yes.
Got it. Now, that document originally was supposed to be sealed. And at one point, it got unsealed.
It was originally sealed by a federal judge, and at some point, the media made a request, and the federal judge decided to unseal it. That's correct.
Okay. Is that a typical thing to do?
Well, you say it's a typical. I mean, no high-profile case involving a high-profile celebrity ever seems to be typical. Because forces and personalities and people seem to get involved in high-profile cases that you don't normally see in other cases. It's not unusual to seal a deposition. It's not unusual to seal evidence. There are privacy concerns. There are other concerns, governmental concerns about how it will be misused. And it was sealed by a federal judge, and then it was unsealed.
Okay. So that particular deposition was unsealed, and it was released publicly. I went ahead and read through it, and there was sort of some interesting stuff in that case. So in that case, he testified under oath that he had given a sedative to at least one other woman who appeared to be Miss Serignice, and other people. And during the actual deposition, and I read both sides, the lawyer for Miss Constant said, when you got the Quaaludes, was it in your mind that you were going to use these Quaaludes for young women that you wanted to have sex with? Mr. Cosby said yes. But he also said that this was consensual for everyone that was involved. Okay, so when they asked if the women had known they were taking Quaaludes, Mr. Cosby's lawyer abruptly cut the questioning off, and Mr. Cosby suggested in his answers that the pill taking and the sex had been consensual. He said that he met the woman whose name was redacted in Las Vegas. She meets me backstage. I gave her Quaaludes. We then have sex. So the name of the woman was originally redacted, but based on court records and so forth, they're saying there was a woman named Miss Serignis. She said she couldn't comment because there's pending litigation, but she said there was nothing about the episode that was consensual. She only took the pills because Mr. Cosby was an authority figure and she felt frightened and compelled. So ultimately, the prosecutors declined to press charges, citing lack of evidence. But then Miss Constant filed a civil case against the comedian. So this is where it kind of gets interesting. So at that point, the prosecutor was Bruce L. Castor Jr., right?
Yes.
And he said that he declined to actually charge Mr. Cosby over the matter. But Mr. Cosby actually sat for depositions in a separate lawsuit filed against him by Miss Constant, which he ended up paying her $3.38 million in 2006. So there was an interview with Mr. Castor, the old prosecutor, about this. So who also is kind of funny enough, he's actually one of the defense lawyers for Donald Trump's second impeachment trial.
That's true.
Right. So they basically made a deal with each other. He made a deal that said that he would not prosecute because Bill Cosby would basically invoke his Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination, so he wouldn't have to testify in the upcoming civil case. And he did this in order to help the civil case.
Well, you'd have to look at Mr. Castor's comments. He's testified under oath that he assembled his team. His team included prosecutors from his office.
Mm-hmm.
It included 2 police departments, Cheltenham and Montgomery County. It included staffers, and they did an exhaustive investigation into the allegations. And he concluded that this case did not belong in a criminal courtroom. And he also concluded that, in his mind, the best form of justice would be to resolve this in a civil proceeding, not a criminal case. And what he says he did was make an agreement not to prosecute Mr. Cosby. The agreement was made by him and his office. There's been some discussion in this case as to whether Mr. Castor could bind the whole office. The reality is it was the office speaking, not just Mr. Castor. And the Pennsylvania Supreme Court has basically said the office made an agreement. He made an agreement that this case did not belong in a criminal courtroom, would not be in a criminal courtroom. And for that reason, Mr. Cosby had no right to assert his right against self-incrimination under the Fifth Amendment. And then Mr. Cosby, in reliance on that agreement not to prosecute, had to give a deposition. And that's exactly what happened.
So Bill Cosby agreed to do a deposition where he admitted to consensually giving Quaaludes to other women in the past. Not Miss Constant, but to other women in the past.
Mr.
Right?
Cosby has always maintained that any relationship or affair he ever had was consensual.
Right.
He has always maintained he never did anything illegal. He never violated any sexual assault statute or rape statute or anything like that, that everything was consensual, lawful, and proper. He has always maintained that. And I want to say something else about that.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Cosby is about to turn 84 years old. He's legally blind. He was sentenced to 3 to 10 years. Given his age, given his physical infirmities, he could have easily gotten out by now on parole. If he had expressed remorse, taken some courses they gave at the prison, and played ball with the authorities, he would have been released on parole. Even at his age, even being legally blind. He refused to express remorse for something he said he never did. He refused to admit committing some crime that he says he never ever did. He refused to take the courses in the prison, and he refused to make it easy for himself to get out on parole. He was a man of absolute conviction that he'd never committed a crime and never engaged in non-consensual sex. He's been adamant about that from the time I met him. He was adamant about that throughout the trial. He was adamant about that when he was in prison and could have gotten out if he played ball with the authorities. He refused to do that. He's a man of conviction and a man of character, and he stood his ground no matter what the consequences. He made a statement that it doesn't matter how old I am, doesn't matter that I'm legally blind. I'll do the 10 years if I have to before I'll admit to something I didn't do.
Right. And we'll get into that whole part, a little bit later. So essentially, the district attorney, Bruce Castor, made a public announcement saying that he's not going to be prosecuting criminally.
Mr. Castor, when he was the district attorney, issued a press release announcing that he was not going to prosecute Mr. Cosby.
Right. And what kind of became a little bit fuzzy in terms of that part was whether a press release is the same thing as a contract or a binding letter from a district attorney. You know what I'm talking about?
If a district attorney says, I'm not going to prosecute you, I agree with you, I'm not going to prosecute you, you now don't have a Fifth Amendment right in a civil deposition. That is a binding contract according to the Pennsylvania Supreme Court. Now remember, he testified to making this agreement under oath. They found some internal memoranda in the district attorney's office that confirmed this was in fact a binding agreement. He issued a press release announcing Mr. Cosby would not be prosecuted. You put all that together, and the Pennsylvania Supreme Court said this was a binding agreement not to prosecute. He bound the district attorney's office. It was not just dependent on an individual personality like his. And he said Cosby relied on this agreement to his detriment. He gave up constitutional rights because of this agreement. And the Pennsylvania Supreme Court said, given this set of circumstances, he should never have been prosecuted. There was an agreement not to prosecute him. He never should have been put through 2 trials, never should have been put through appeals, never should have gone to prison. And they released him and said he can no longer be prosecuted for anything related to this case.
Okay, so this happened back in 2005.
Imagine being able to build anything just by thinking about it. Meet Base 44, a complete AI creation.
No criminal charges were filed. Bill Cosby paid $3.4 million to Miss Constant, and life went on.
Listen, I represented Michael Jackson. He settled cases. I represented other celebrities. They settled cases.
Yeah.
Business advisors, business lawyers will often tell a celebrity, settle a case. You have bigger fish to fry. You have a career in front of you. There are all sorts of projects that will net you a lot more income than what you're paying to settle. And this is not unusual for a celebrity to get rid of a civil case so they can do better things and bigger things with their career.
I've settled cases that I was completely innocent of. But once again, the lawyer said, listen, just pay this amount. It'll be less than going to trial with it. And even if you win, the person who's suing you, can't pay the money if you try to countersue. So just pay the money and keep it moving.
It's a business decision.
It's a business decision.
And people like Mr. Cosby, Michael Jackson, they have business advisors who will tell them, this is nothing. Get rid of this and move on to bigger and better things. You're talented. You're popular. You can do great things with your career. Don't let this sidetrack you. Get rid of it.
Okay, so this happens in 2005. The case gets settled civilly. Bill pays his money to Miss Constant. And so then in 2014, the comedian Hannibal Buress did a joke about
No, never pay, because even though you're giving them hush money or quiet money or whatever, you're still meant to guilt, whether it's courts or, paying the victim. And that's stupid, even if their advisor tell you to do this, and then people can use that against you later on. Things don't go away like that, but But you willing to pay that and get rid of that and then stay in jail. Like that don't make no sense. Stay in jail for 3 years, but here it is, you pay someone to continue your career instead of just standing on 10 toes like you did when you went to do time. Like that don't make no sense. But let's carry on.
Bill Cosby and the alleged rapes and so forth. Someone in the audience recorded the video, posted on social media, and it started to go viral. And that sort of created sort of an air about this type of thing, I feel. But once again, nothing was happening until 2016. So then in 2016, the new district attorney, I guess when he was running, part of his ads was he was announcing that he would prosecute Bill Cosby.
He had ads on TV that if I'm elected, I'm going to prosecute Mr. Cosby.
For District Attorney in Montgomery County, Kevin Steele, first assistant DA with a 98% conviction rate and tough sentences for sexual predators. Or Bruce Castor, a former DA who
ended up winning a close election.
Mm-hmm.
But he interjected politics into the legal process, which was, in my opinion, a complete disaster. Disaster for everybody, especially the legal system, because the legal system was misused for political purposes.
Hold on for a second.
Every
Hold on.
step of this case.
Hey, why'd you skip past the clip showing where the guy was running for office?
The ad, I got them restricted playing ads. I can't play ads. No, not them either. Private ads either.
Oh, okay. Just checking.
I got a restriction. I have to take a course behind advertisement and ads like that. The last show we did, we played the little ad with old girl talking about tracking down sex offenders. Remember that ad? I
Yes.
think Bond, Pam, or one of them. Yeah, I got a restriction. for that.
All right.
And that's the reason why I'm skipping ads. I'm not skipping them because I don't want to hear it, even though I don't want to hear it. But you get a restriction for that too.
Okay, he wins the election. He is now the district attorney. And he makes good on his promise and starts to actually prosecute Bill Cosby. Now, from what I understand, right around that time, Bill Cosby's defense team was trying to get the criminal charges thrown out. And they took the kind of unusual step of actually calling the former DA, Mr. Castor, as a witness at pretrial hearing.
Well, the defense of Bill Cosby before both trials tried to get these charges dismissed on the basis that Mr. Castor had bound the office in a non-prosecution agreement, that Mr. Cosby had relied on that non-prosecution agreement, and that it would be illegal to bring this case in a criminal courtroom. And both times the trial judge denied the defense motion to dismiss.
Okay. So then the first trial starts. You are not part of this trial.
The first trial, no.
Okay. So, and once again, Mr. Castor said that he decided not to prosecute Mr. Cosby because that would set off a chain of events that would get Andre Constant some justice. That is why he made that deal not to prosecute, but allow basically Bill Cosby to make certain statements that he felt would help her in her civil trial. To me, what I find a little bit strange is why would a district attorney care about a civil trial?
He's made numerous statements to the effect that he believed that this case did not belong in a criminal courtroom, that these grievances should be resolved in a civil context. That was his thought process. And he has stated that he thought he was helping everybody by shifting it away from a criminal courtroom into a civil context. And that was his choice. He chose as district attorney to agree not to prosecute. And he basically did more than agree not to prosecute. He instructed Mr. Cosby and his lawyers that they had no right to assert their Fifth Amendment privilege because he had waived any right to prosecute him. So it was a two-sided arrangement.
Yeah.
The DA agrees not to prosecute. Because of that, you have no constitutional right under the Fifth Amendment to not make statements. You now must make statements in reliance on my agreement not to prosecute. That's basically what happened. But there's something else you need to know. You need to know about the ugly insertion of politics into this whole equation. Bruce Castor ran for district attorney. It's an elected position. His opponent was the person who became the trial judge in the Cosby case.
Yeah.
And apparently I wasn't involved and I didn't know any of these people. It was a bitterly fought election. Castor won, his opponent lost, and the opponent subsequently became a trial judge. He became the trial judge in the Bill Cosby case. So when the defense asked to have the charges thrown out on the basis that Mr. Castor had made a binding agreement, and a hearing was conducted, and Mr. Castor testified under oath that he had made a binding agreement, that he had bound the office, his old political opponent in a bitter election, who was now the trial judge, made a ruling that he lacked credibility.
Wow. Okay.
You have to keep all this in mind
Mm-hmm.
because ugly, dirty politics was involved in this case, in my opinion, from day one. This was a clear case of ugly, dirty politics inserting itself into the legal process and, in my opinion, corrupting the legal process.
Okay, great. Wait, were you even listening? You haven't taken a single note this entire meeting?
I'm actually listening better than I ever have. Let me share my screen. Do you see this? Everything.
Okay. So then we go forward to 2017. And in terms of the backdrop of what's happening, the Me Too movement starts to go viral on social media. Although Me Too had been out there since about 2006, that year was when it really started to go viral, and you started to see a lot of men getting accused and so forth. And Bill Cosby was, one of the main people in that whole Me Too environment. So after the judge essentially threw out the agreement that Mr. Castor had, the trial started to begin. Now, the question is the statute of limitations. Hadn't that been completely, invoked at that point?
The district attorney who filed the case against Mr. Cosby thought he had filed the case within the statutory required period of time. That's called the statute of limitations. If a case is not filed within the statute of limitations, it's too late.
Right.
He thought he had filed it within a few days of the statute running. The word we use is running in the legal profession. We did our investigation, looked into various statements, testimony, phone records of all kinds, and concluded that this had been filed too late. And the defense, at least my team in the second trial, the first team in the initial trial didn't raise the issue. But we raised the issue of a statute of limitations after we investigated this issue. And we basically made a statement to the court that this was filed too late. The court does not have the power to hear this case. The word is jurisdiction in the law. Jurisdiction means you have the power to hear something. We said the court lacked jurisdiction. It didn't have the power to hear this case because it was filed too late. We said to the court, we have the evidence to show it. We want to have a hearing before any trial starts, and the judge would not let us have such a hearing.
Okay, because you feel it's politically motivated.
I think the judge just didn't want to see what the evidence was.
Right.
What he said was, I'll let the jury decide after we have a trial, which is not the way it's supposed to be. If you lack jurisdiction, if you lack power, you're not supposed to have a trial that you don't have the power to have. And judges are supposed to be neutral referees. Judges are supposed to not favor one side or the other. They're supposed to follow the law, follow procedure, and make judgments based upon what's fair to both sides, not just one side, both sides. In my opinion, this judge was out for a conviction, wanted his show trial from day one, and was not going to listen to anything that suggested your show trial is not going to happen. That's my belief. It's just my opinion.
Okay, so 2017, the first trial goes underway. And by using this old unsealed deposition, they felt that they had enough evidence for a criminal conviction. So what I think a lot of people don't realize is that, you know, from the outside looking in, it looks like Bill Cosby's on trial and like 50 women are accusing him. But in fact, it's only that same woman from 2005, Miss Constant.
She is the accuser in the criminal case, yes.
Right.
Now, in the first trial, which I wasn't part of, the judge allowed one unrelated accuser to testify. In the second trial, which I was lead counsel in, the judge increased the number of unrelated accusers from 1 to 5. Again, in my opinion, he wanted this show trial and he wanted a conviction. Why else would you increase the number of unrelated accusers from 1 to 5 if you really were trying to be a neutral judge, not show favoritism to either side, and be measured and fair to both sides? That's not what happened in this case.
Right. And that's just very important, I think, that Bill Cosby's criminal case was only based on an accusation from Miss Constant from 2005. It had nothing to do with these 50 or 60 women that people claim that he also did something with. It was really just one woman from a 2005 case that she already got paid over $3 million for.
There was one principal accuser in the criminal case. That's correct.
Got it. So in June of that year, Miss Constant actually got to take the stand and tell her story for the first time, because up until that point, there was no criminal trial, right? So she took the stand. She said that Mr. Cosby had given her pills that he claimed were herbal and said, you know, to take the edge off. But she said that she was paralyzed after taking the pills. She said, in my head, I was trying to get my hands to move or my legs to move, but I was frozen. She said 20 minutes later, he put his hands on her genitalia. I wasn't able to fight in any way. I wanted to stop, and so forth. And there was one other woman who testified based on an experience she had with Bill.
Again, in the first trial, which I was not part of, the judge allowed the prosecution to bring one unrelated accuser.
Like a character witness, sort of?
They call it something else. We call it 404B witnesses, but it's designed to show pattern, absence of mistake. There are some legal terms that are used to explain why this type of testimony may or may not be appropriate. It's not supposed to be character evidence, but it's supposed to be pattern evidence. It's a whole separate area of the law. There are many people who think you should never bring someone who's unrelated to the central accusation. It should only be based on the central accuser and whatever evidence exists that surrounds that.
I agree.
But again, in the first trial, the judge allowed the accuser to testify and one unrelated accuser to testify. In the second trial, which I was part of, the judge allowed the primary accuser to testify and 5 other unrelated accusers to testify. Increased the number from 1 to 5 between trials.
Okay. And once again, this whole case is over a 13-year-old incident that happened. And during the trial, Bill Cosby did not give any evidence, but he did have one witness, right?
In the first trial, again, I wasn't involved in, there was one witness. Yes, they called a police witness.
Okay, what did the police witness say?
I'd have to go back over the transcript to really tell you exactly what it wasn't. The witness was not on very long. It was like a 20-minute bit of testimony. And again, I was not there for that.
Got it. Okay, so ultimately, the trial concludes. The jury goes to deliberate, and they were deadlocked.
Yes.
What does deadlock mean? Does that mean that all of them did not have the same decision?
Well, you need a unanimous jury to either convict or acquit.
Yeah.
If a jury can't agree unanimously to either convict or acquit, eventually a judge will declare a mistrial. He'll say it's a hung jury. That's what we call it.
Welcome to Wix Harmony. Take the speed of AI.
Okay, so one person saying not guilty or guilty and everyone else is saying the opposite, that's then a mistrial.
That would be a hung jury.
A hung jury, which is what this. Do you know how many people I mean, did they ever say what the
I've heard
breakdown?
various accounts of it. I can't give you a definite statement on it.
Fair enough. But usually, doesn't the judge usually try to pressure the jury to keep deliberating to come to some sort of conclusion?
Judges can do that. In California, we call it an Allen charge. Sometimes judges will say, jury will announce they're hung, they can't agree, and a judge will order them to go back in and try to deliberate some more and see if they can reach an agreement.
Did this happen in this case or no?
The judge kept them deliberating, as I understand it, and recall, again, I wasn't there.
Yeah.
And then eventually they said, we cannot reach an agreement.
Okay. So essentially, this is a mistrial. No one's guilty or innocent at this point, and they have to redo the whole thing.
Well, you don't have to. The district attorney could have said, we're not going to retry the case.
Aha.
He could have said that if he wanted to.
Right, but that wasn't his platform when he was running.
He did run on the basis that if elected, he would go after Bill Cosby.
There you go. So then in 2018, the retrial happened.
Yes.
And you got brought in on that.
I was brought in as lead trial counsel. That's correct.
Okay. Was there a reason why they chose you over other people?
You'd have to ask them. I mean, I've
Okay.
been in and I acquitted Michael Jackson. I freed Robert Blake when they said you can't do it. I've won a lot of federal cases, state cases, all kinds of cases. And I guess they liked my record.
There you go. Well, and then by this time, Me Too had actually escalated in terms of public appearance. Harvey Weinstein was charged with a bunch of stuff, Kevin Spacey, and so forth. So now there's really like almost like a bloodlust happening in society over people that are accused for this type of thing. You take on the retrial, and it begins on April 9th, 2018.
I took over and I brought in a trial team with some very fine lawyers. And when I realized that the trial judge was not likely to give us a fair trial, I was, in my mind, was thinking we've got to be prepared for an appeal if things don't go right. Because it was when the judge would not have a hearing on statute of limitations, would not dismiss this case based on the non-prosecution agreement, when he increased the number of unrelated accusatory witnesses from 1 to 5, it was very clear to me the judge wanted this high-profile case and wanted a conviction. And what I
Can I come in?
did was I had 4
Come in.
lawyers making on the record. They were filing legal points and authorities on the record. They were making motions for mistrials on the record.
Yeah. All right. We're gonna continue the video and everything else, but thus far, I hope you all are seeing that Mr. Cosby shot himself in the foot. Okay, taking that deal. As the seventh answer said earlier on, he never should have taken the deal. Okay, if you know you innocent, if you feel that you adamantly, unequivocally, no doubt innocent, it's best to stand, deliver, and go to war. Okay? This whole settling when you're not guilty and you have the evidence and the resource to hire the best lawyers to jump out there for you and prove your innocence is unwise to take and settle deals. And as you can see now, as Mr. Massaro is saying, it was clear from the door, judicial and prosecutorial misconduct was being implemented, executed, and allowed. Their whole focus was to get this dude, to get Bill Cosby, get that nigger. I'm gonna make it plain. Because as he mentioned, you had movie mogul and Harvey Weinstein, Kevin Spacey, and so many other actors before the whole Jeffrey Epstein would come to light. They were all up on charges way back yonder. But Bill Cosby, R. Kelly, became the poster boys on pedophilia and sexual misconduct in America. And see, the vindictiveness that this that this government practices when they lose. They can't stand losing. Okay? So it's clear, as Mr. Messero said, the judge allowed a number of unrelated witnesses to come in and give their play, then not to mention the court of public opinion, Me Too, already had the jury tainted. So it was a done deal when Mr. Cosby unwisely took that deal. It's just that simple. And typically in a lot of courtrooms, for brothers who are poor, sisters who are poor, when they got the public defender, sometimes the public defender always tries to get a great many people to take a deal because they're overwhelmed or what have you, and you'll have someone innocent foolishly cop into something they didn't do. But then you have some people who are diehard and will fight. They'll find a way to fight, even if they have to pro se represent themselves. But the point I'm making and the point that I'm trying to show, as Mr. Messero is saying, Bill Cosby the deck was already stacked against him. You had again, prosecutor who was elected based on a promise he had no business making, okay, to get Bill Cosby, break a binding contract, and you had a judge who allowed it, and then 3 years, it would take 3 years for Pennsylvania Supreme Court to read and see the misconduct, but yet Kevin Steele and the judge, who's unnamed, who presided over the case, weren't dealt with. They weren't punished. Gloria Allred, they wasn't punished. But the whole issue is it was a witch hunt. An absolute witch hunt. But it could have been avoided had Bill Cosby, had he not unwisely listened to business partners telling him to settle out. That was the same thing that, had Michael.
No, we don't know that. He speculated and said, yeah, they usually do that, but we don't know none of that. And this is where I'm at with. For the simple fact that you paid this person off, as like he was breaking down, there's a silver matter and there's a criminal matter. Okay. Even if you decide to say, yeah, I called the police and said this person did this to me, and you decide to say, oh, I don't want to press charges against them. There's a such thing where the DA say, never mind about what you're talking about, we're going to pursue this case because we feel like it's a criminal matter. You don't have to agree to prosecuting somebody. The DA can pick it up. So like I said, when he opened the door to make that payment, he made himself guilty. So anytime that a DA, and sometimes it could take a long time, year, 2 years or something, for the DA to pick that charge up and prosecute you on that charge. So you have to keep that in mind when you're dealing with that. So I'm pretty sure whoever advised him that, this could get real ugly, and still at the same time, it can be a criminal matter, not just a silver matter. Now, you're, having sexual relationship with people that's under the influence, that is crazy. Like, I agree with old girl that we played yesterday. Like, why is you constantly getting caught up with these women taking advantage or whatever? Because this is where I'm at with. You're offering these people a consensual, and you're not even a doctor. and you're offering these people this medication or whatever, and they're not even coherent, and you over there saying and asking them, is it okay if we can have? Come on now, make it make sense. Is it okay for us to have? And they can't even feel their fingers. They can't even feel their mouth, let alone say anything, speak, or even do it. Make it make sense. And they agree in a right state of mind. You can't. That's the reason why it's just so funny. The reason why it's other reasons why they will try to pick something up like this. Like, even though you're trying to cover this is just creepy and it's crazy at the same time. Cosby.
Yeah, but at the same time, though, let's look at the fact that in that time frame, the Quaaludes and whatever, it made the sex more intense. They say they were high, it would give them that trip, it would lower their inhibitions. But you know, now we're hearing, oh well, he was doing to them when they were woke, they were all incapacitated, laying there prone. That now the way they're describing it now. But when you listen
And,
to certain individuals who actually use the drugs, who actually use Quaaludes, and describe what it actually did to them, it doesn't sound as creepy as Mr. Cosby and his exploits are made to sound. See, this is what I got a problem with.
yeah, but when you do drugs, every drug works different on anybody. That's just like ecstasy. Somebody using ecstasy may say it aroused them sexually. Some are, um, taking it where they're passing out. So at the end of
Oh
the day,
yeah.
you can't sit there and say one person just because he's immune to it and he can be functionable and he only take it because it's ecstasy, when there's another person saying that, you know what I mean, this mentally messed me up and it actually put me to sleep, made me pass out.
Yes, okay, individual results will vary. I got you. But the general consensus of what I was focusing on. But you're right, individual results vary.
General consent.
And
If you consent to giving, if like I said, if I give you a pill that's prescribed to me, I can be criminally charged. Being in possession of you being in possession of something that wasn't prescribed to you can be charged. So you're giving people medication like you're a pharmaceutical, and
but you know,
with these type of things, it tells you you get it when you checking out medication at the pharmacy. It gives you a warning and all this other good stuff.
true, true, true.
So you're giving people medication that could be immune to it, I mean allergic to it, or whatever the cause might be. So
And
you're
I,
basically,
I want
Dr.
to rock with you.
Dr. Health goes around this, and
No, I gotta rock.
remind me
I'm
of
gonna
a
rock with you.
that give his patients, I mean sedate his patients and then take advantage of his patients. It's no
Right.
different.
And I'm gonna say this here. And even if they, I'm gonna go so far as to this here. Even if they were even if the persons were requesting it, I
That's
wouldn't
what I'm
put my.
saying.
You're right. I wouldn't put myself in no position to accommodate people on what they're requesting, and then here it is, the potential side effect from an individual, and
Right.
an individual. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
People are putting
Yeah.
different stuff in these pills and stuff and calling them certain things. It's crazy for you to be running around here known to be this type of person. So you're frequently just, you know what I mean, being the pill man. You know.
And like you said, and here it is, like you said, he's not a doctor, all right? Those were prescribed to him. Therefore, therefore we can assume typically when medications are prescribed to you, that there's an assessment of possible tolerance,
Right.
albeit there's still a risk
And
you're
then they
using it.
check you, like you have to go in and check to see is it affecting you or is it, too much or whatever the cause it may be. There's, as a doctor, there's a whole things that they have to protocols that they have to take in place
Right.
doing stuff like that. But I'm back to you just giving this to people and they're saying this is what they're saying, and it's crazy how they just brush it off. Yeah, there's consent. Yeah, they'll agree with it, but you're not understanding that you can't just give somebody some, some prescriptions and just be like, okay, because they agree with it. Okay, yeah, they agree with it, but you give a person a fentanyl and watch your butt don't motherfucking be locked mess. You know what I mean? Like, come on now, you just can't give narcotics or pills or whatever to people and take advantage of them
You're
because
right. I agree. I agree.
the moment they're incapacitated, they're not even coherent, they don't even know what's going on. So you're saying, yeah, you're asking them, is it okay after? It's not like they had performed, sexual act and then you gave them some relaxation. No, every incident is, I did this and all of a sudden this is this. You're opening the doors, even if it was a lie, you still open the doors because your actions before, like you ain't never had intercourse with these people before. You understand what I'm saying? So why would you
Yeah.
just pay to just this type of thing to these particular people because you gave them some drugs? Like it's a pattern, and you know what's going to happen to them, and they're going to agree with anything. Like, come on now, I'm not putting anything past this because it's weird. Yeah, he got caught up, but it's still weird as far as the actions that led up to it.
But when I think back on Jimmy Walker, when he gave actor Jimmy Walker, JJ from Good, when he gave his assessment, he said, "Listen, those were the parties. This is what we were into. It was our thing. It was a risk. We knew the risk, and we understood. But being high, having that extra push, having that extra, what it just made you feel so indestructible. And so I'm listening to him talk. I'm like, bro, you sound like a full-fledged damn junkie. Cause at the same time, you put that in, look at him. I can recall in that time frame as a child seeing people strung out, jacked up. Some people died unexpectedly and all that. But in the whole issue of, the even if it's consensual, why would you want to engage in sexual practices or with a person who is rendered incapacitated if you look at the real ramifications and the effects the medication are given? Or as you said, why would you want to put yourself in a position where it'll become your word against them? He said, she said, your side, my side, and then the truth. That I wouldn't want to, I would not, want to go to that kind of a step, especially in this society, and where if you are rich and affluent, your money, your career, everything, your family, or you're putting all that at risk for what? A few moments or a couple of moments of pleasure? That yeah, I get what you're saying. Seventh answer. That was a weird and wild time. It really was. And looking at the damage.
While in time, and they was slipping people Mickeys, and that's half of these people. These prom queens and kings, ruined their brain behind being slipped the Mickeys because somebody gave them some stuff.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So let's continue with the video and everything else. But like I said, I'm glad we're getting the answers that we definitely were asking in more detail. So I want to resume the video and everything else. But for those of you that are now tuning in and you're listening along with us, as you can see, the seventh answer and myself, we're on our job. We uncover all stones and we are fearlessly able to face and deal with every facet of this conversation. And again, the cautionary tale that we all should be getting from this, don't go putting yourself in predicaments that could possibly cost you. All right? It's just that simple. So we're going to pick up and resume. We are listening to Tom Moussier.
Right.
All right? As the conversation continues here in the Lion's Den. And I'm going to be coming to the comment section because I see a lot of you out there are talking. Shout out to Salalia Binyah, Big Mississippi, okay, and other family members. We'll be right back at you. Let's go to work, seventh answer.
And they was saying they was in the bed with other people.
Yeah, shout out to Smashing Out. Yeah, you see that whole orgy thing. See, you know what? I won't lie. I will not
He
lie.
said no. One of the victims
To
said
have,
she woke up. He gave her a pill. Cosby. Cosby gave her a pill, and she woke up to another dude
yeah, that see
in the
things
bed
like
with her.
that.
Cosby was
That
at the end at her with.
okay. You went out. You were saying.
I said, and she said he gave her the pill, and she all of a sudden she woke up naked in the bed with another man, and Cosby was, I guess, testing her feet.
Yeah, I found. Yeah, that was disturbing. That was a disturbing accusation and all that. But like I said, seventh answer. But in the end, all these cases or accusations wound up getting tossed out. So was she embellishing or not? To accuse someone is one thing, but then all these cases, all these accusations prove to be, how you say, non-prosecutorial. I don't get that either, because there ain't that much settling in the world. But anyway, when you're ready to run the video, you get to it. We can make it happen. And like I said, I'll come see who's talking. But in the meantime, while you're drawing up the video, let me just see who's talking. We're gonna go back up here. I see Smashing Idol, Yahweh Akkad. Welcome to the Lions Den, Smashing Idol. Tawana, Miss J, how are you? Good evening to you as well. All right. Jay Snake, what's going on, man? What's going on? And Tyrone, you ask me, Tyrone, baby Hebrew, I wanna know who molested you. What man molested you, baby? Well, I'll just say this to you. That was a very unfortunate event that happened to me, Brother Tyrone. I don't run from it. Okay. It was a friend that I trusted, someone who I thought was in my corner, but he wasn't. Bigger, stronger than me, and everything else. If you must know, You know, y'all speak on stars and share your. Well, we speaking. Well, that's my testimony, Brother Tyrone. I hope that my answer satiates your curiosity as the conversation continues. Let's go. Seventh answer. Let's go. Oh, there's no sound. So y'all stand by. We're gonna get the sound back up. There we go.
Constantly filing points and authorities, we call it in the profession. And this was the best record for appeal I've ever had in a criminal case.
Okay, so the retrial goes underway,
Yes.
and the judge allowed 5 women to take the stand, even though they're not connected to the actual case.
They're not connected to the actual case. Some of them were talking about alleged events going back almost 30 years when you can't find forensic evidence. You can't interview witnesses. People have moved locations. People have changed. I mean, it was just an outrage. It was clearly designed to prejudice that jury against Mr. Cosby. That was the only purpose I can even imagine for doing that, is to make sure this was not a fair trial and Mr. Cosby was convicted. That's what, in my opinion, this judge wanted from day one.
Okay, and Bill Cosby, of course, does not take the stand.
He did not, which he has a right not to do.
Absolutely. Was the same police witness called on his side this time, or no?
No.
No,
No.
because it just didn't
The
really.
prosecution used the deposition.
Uh-huh.
And there was a lot of discussion with the court about what they could use or not use. And we made numerous objections to that deposition being used. You can imagine what the objections were. The primary problem is that this deposition testimony was based on a non-prosecution agreement.
Mm-hmm.
And suddenly another DA gets elected and says, I'm not going to do what that prior DA agreed to do. And as the Pennsylvania Supreme Court emphatically said in their opinion, the office made an agreement, not the individual district attorney. He bound the office. The office had to follow that agreement. They called it a bait and switch.
Yeah.
Which is another way of saying this was a con game.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, he was told there was an agreement. He relied on the agreement. Now the next politically driven DA decides, well, I wasn't there entering into the agreement. That's not the way prosecution works.
Right, because it's the same department. It's the same DA. Same office, right.
Yes.
Exactly. So the trial is underway. 5 witnesses gets called for the prosecution. No witnesses for the defense. How long did the trial last?
It lasted about 2.5 weeks, as I recall.
Okay. How was Bill Cosby during this process?
Well, this was a horrible experience for Bill Cosby. I mean, who wants to go through something like this?
Twice.
Twice. He's a man in his 80s. You know, you're looking at prison. You're looking at false accusations that you know are not true. And you're looking at a movement surrounding the courthouse with protesters, you know, supporting Me Too, supporting the prosecution. You look at the way politics have inserted themselves into your life and into your legal rights. I mean, anyone would be horribly upset, but he always conducted himself with dignity, always conducted himself with poise and character, and he always believed in himself, and he was a man of real sturdy character. That I have to say that.
But I can imagine he was pretty stressed out.
Well, anybody would be. He didn't show it.
He didn't show it at all.
Mr. Cosby was a very strong, determined, principled person throughout my experience with him in this case.
So the trial finally ends. The jury took 2 days to deliberate, and they came back with a.
By the way, we called a witness in that case.
Oh, you did call a witness?
We did.
Who did you call?
We called a woman from Temple University. You can read her testimony. It's very important.
Okay, can you say what it was?
I don't want to describe. I want to paraphrase what she said, but you can read her.
But it was for Bill Cosby's behalf.
And we called some other witnesses too.
Who are the other witnesses?
Check the record. You
Check
can see
the
what
record.
they said.
Okay. Well, the jury deliberates for 2 days, and they come back with a guilty verdict. When you heard that guilty verdict, what'd you think?
I was very upset because I knew the trial had been unfair. I knew this judge had not been a neutral arbiter like a judge is supposed to be. I knew he had let prejudicial testimony in that never should have entered that courtroom. I knew the deposition didn't belong in that trial. And I knew Mr. Cosby had been denied his rights repeatedly throughout the trial I was in. As I said before, he wouldn't allow a hearing on statute of limitations to see if he even had the power to conduct the trial. He upped the number of unrelated accusers from 1 to 5. He made statements and, in my opinion, facial expressions throughout the trial that were, my opinion, were inappropriate. We made a very strong record about how he was conducting himself. But knowing that Mr. Cosby had to face prison, had to face appeals, I felt terrible for him. I really did.
Right. Because, for example, this was a recent case, completely unrelated.
This is how we grew our podcast to over 10,000 listeners without spending
because you mentioned facial expressions and everything else like that. There's a guy named Arab who was a regular guest on our show. He recently got sentenced to 45 years in prison. And during the sentencing, the judge made a comment about how, you're basically rolling your eyes, your hands are crossed, you're acting disrespectfully as I'm reading this. It doesn't seem like you really regret any of your actions. So I'm going to give you the maximum 45 years. So if a judge feels some sort of personal snub, they could really end up screwing you.
Well, after Mr. Cosby was found guilty in the second trial, he brought in a new team for sentencing.
Yeah.
And I wasn't there for the sentencing, but I certainly followed it. And if you look at the reporting on the sentencing, you'll see that the trial judge began with some type of statement that seemed totally rehearsed to me. Okay, Mr. Cosby, the time has come, something like that. I can envision this trial judge rehearsing that for weeks. This was not a fair trial, and he got an awful treatment by a justice system that's supposed to be a lot better than this. And I think that was the gist of the Pennsylvania Supreme Court's decision. Our legal system was supposed to be better than what they saw in the Cosby prosecution. They saw politics. They saw disrespecting what a prior DA had done. They saw the introduction of evidence that was highly inflammatory and improper. They saw all kinds of manipulation for selfish reasons. Mm-hmm. And basically they said this was a bait and switch, which is, think about it. Think about looking at the legal system, the way this was conducted, and having the Supreme Court say this was just a bait and switch, like it was a hustle.
Right.
He was hustled.
Yeah.
That's basically what they said.
If you get offered immunity and you take that offer and say what you have to say, and then they come back and say, oh, never mind, that immunity doesn't count, then
he wasn't there for a lot of shit. Like, you ain't there for a lot of stuff. Where are you at? You ain't present for a lot of stuff, and you're his lawyer. Okay. like you ain't showed up to brush your teeth either.
no one would take an immunity agreement.
Of course not. And the system would break down.
It'd break down the whole system, yeah.
Because you can't try every case. 90+% of cases nationwide are resolved before a trial.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have the courtrooms and the personnel to try every single case. So this is, plea bargaining, the kinds of agreements that result in a non-prosecution, they are very critical to the survival of the justice system. And in my opinion, the trial judge and the DA in Bill Cosby's case made a complete mockery of just very fundamental principles of due process and fundamental fairness in the system. And the Pennsylvania Supreme Court did something a lot of people don't see very often. They said, look, the principle of fundamental fairness under our Constitution was violated. we're going to vacate the conviction. We're going to throw this case out, and it can never be reprosecuted. There can be no retrial, is what they said.
Well, Bill Cosby was found guilty on 3 counts of aggravated indecent assault, right? And I guess before the actual sentencing, and this is something that Scott Ross talked about. I brought him in for an interview, which was your one of your private investigators.
Yes.
He said that
I mean, that's fit the crime, you know, the charge that he was being convicted of.
Yeah, but at the same time, I'm going to get back on the train you were on. Look, if I wouldn't want to be hit with nothing like that either. I wouldn't want nothing like that on my record, or I cop to. I would not. Hell no. What? Though it's not rape, it's a whole different charge, but still, listen to how it sounds.
Exactly. Like you just,
Oh,
you know,
wow.
and Dr. Heckles, you Jekyll on the person. Like, come on now.
Yeah, yeah, his advisors, they were not in his corner. I'm sorry.
He was working for the district attorney, obviously, because there's no way they would have been like, get rid of that person or don't speak to that. They ain't gonna sit there and be like, pay that person off. You pay a person, you know. I'm pretty sure that's what they demanded you to, to be found guilty and to pay me. And you started first paying them, like you doing exactly what they want you to do. Now, once you do that and you pay the person hush hush money, they can go back and say, "Oh yeah, he did this to me." You know, this under the table.
Well, that's what exactly went down. 12 years later, that's what they did. They came back like Jason Voorhees and from the backup and retried him on a criminal court.
That's exactly what happened to Donald Trump. He challenged the woman and said it didn't happen, even though he didn't show up to his court appearances. That's why he was found guilty. But the fact of the matter is, you know what I mean?
But you know what though? See, but you know what? You just sparked something in me, from my own personal experience. But here it is. But I look at what's the name? I hate when I'm not good with names. But what's this? Yeah, Andrea Constant. Here's the thing: as the victim, I would have been like, "Look, I'm not here to make no deals. Cause see, I want this man criminal. I want him prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. Get him off the streets. Let him cool his heels. So in whatever prison or institution you're gonna send him, and I can hit him. I can still hit his pocket civilly, but criminally, I want his head."
And that's exactly what happened. That is exactly what happened. That is exactly what she wanted and got. Okay? Never mind about the punitive damage, you know what I mean? The pain and suffering. She got a criminal charge and, a reward. She got a reward first. Shut up. Don't get to talking about this. No, I'm still about to prosecute you, but you're going to cash out for the damages. And that's exactly what he did. Thought it was going to go away, and it didn't. But my thing is like Trump, okay? Once you sit there and say, okay, later on, and she say, yeah, it happened, go on interviews and try to get paid some more and go on interviews after you done already paid her, and she go and say, to different news outlets and get her interview off. And then you sit there and call her a liar, and you ain't not doing nothing but bringing up the case where now she got to sue you, and ain't that what happened to Trump? You said it did never happen, so now she got to take you back to court and win again.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Wow. Oh, wow. So let's keep the energy going as the conversation continues. Yo, like I said, you
But
all
I'm
out
like,
there.
though, you see how he's so, talking about him like, yeah, he stayed up in the jail. He didn't want to take it no matter what. He just rather do the time. Why you have that same energy at the beginning of the whole situation?
That's my seventh answer. I have to agree with you on that. And because I know I would have. Look, I don't give a good goddamn who my advisors were. You're not going to tell me to cop a plea on something that I know if I'm saying I'm emphatically innocent. No, I'm not paying her. I'm not paying anyone to go away. We're going to go to court. We're going to duke it out. We're going to hash it out. And I'm expecting my team of lawyers and whomever paralegals and whomever else working my case to uncover the evidence needed to find me absolutely innocent.
That's right.
Nah,
I
no,
mean,
no,
we
no.
already did it after the fact. Like, why you don't, like I'm saying, it's nothing to do it at the beginning. Like, you got all the time in the world just to say, hey, no, I'm gonna fight you on this charge. But you didn't do none of that. And I don't care what advisor, because you know what I mean, that's just a cop out excuse. you know. Oh yeah, my advisor. You got more common sense. You heard the other dude that was around him said, you know what I mean. You got to come with the best or nothing less. He couldn't even
Yeah,
be around him. So he
but
was
you
a
know what?
smart. He was smart. He hang around, smart, intelligent people.
But that was that. But see, seventh answer. That was why when Monique Presley was hired, she put all that whole deals and settlement. Now we're not settling shit. We're gonna go to war. Okay, you're not giving out no more money. We're gonna go to war. If they're claiming you did it, let's find out if you did it. They got to come with the evidence of not at all. But you ain't paying no more money. That was the same thing that happened to Michael Jackson. He
They
had Robert
all
Kardashian.
they
Hold
all
on,
lived
hold
together.
on. Apparently so. I got
Including her, because ain't no way it should have even made it that far. I don't take all these people. They all in his pocket at the end of the day, because he already was found guilty, did the time on it already. All these other people are coming around again to do it again to get some more money. None of them should have got nothing, including her. It's all bull crap to keep him tied up financially. And they all like, oh, they all knew it was all bull crap from the beginning, because this man already been found guilty, did his time, and paid the fine. Anytime somebody, oh, she did it. No, anybody could have got that. He could have represented himself if he had sense enough to say, no, I took this deal, it's sealed. I don't need another lawyer to represent me after I took the deal and they said that the lid was closed on this case.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Mm-hmm.
common sense. Ain't no way you gonna go and catch a case and the time is offering 5 to 10 years. You do 3 years, whatever the cost. And they turn around and say, oh no, that's not good enough, even though you signed a deal. There's no way I need any other person to represent me. All y'all is trying to get money out of me. Every last one of y'all, including the person that's trying to represent me. I don't need you at this time. The hell.
Yeah, but that was the same thing that happened to Michael Jackson when he had Robert Kardashian, Kim Kardashian's uncle, when he was representing him. All he wanted to do was make deals, and he said, and then like Michael said, "Hold up, man, I'm becoming an ATM for these people." And then I forget the time we had Tom Messerow step in and said, okay, no more deals, Michael. We ain't doing no more. You're not doing no more payouts, no more settlements. I got you. We going to war.
Then he hooked up with the Moors or something. Because after that, it was like, leave that man alone. Because
Yeah.
when I seen him with the Moors, it was like no more court, no none of that no more. He was up under their wings.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But like I said, it's just unfortunate, for Mr. Cosby to be so accomplished and be, and know what he's up against, and you jumped out there eating the devil's pie, like D'Angelo said, the devil's pie. What you think is gonna happen? Or DMX, the snake, the cat, the dog, the rat. I'm saying it wrong, but how you gonna see him when you're living in a fog? The snake, the cat, the rat, the dog. How you gonna see him when you're living in a fog? You up here chilling with this devil. He making you deals and okay. And then in the end, you gave me your right hand. You promised. So I need that favor. So I as much as it hurts me to say this, Bill, whoever Bill Cosby didn't do no favors for, they can't collect, and they still collecting.
Yeah,
They
Bill
still
Cosby
collecting.
shouldn't have been cheating. Because if you wasn't cheating, I'm pretty sure that Black Queen could have got you all a little better than that. Because
Yeah,
usually, black women go hard in the paint when it comes to that type of stuff. But at the end of the day, you know what I mean? She like discovering all this other stuff. Like, but it's hard
yeah,
to stand
yeah,
by when he's, you know what I mean? Cheating on
yeah.
you. Like, come on now. She was 10 toes with her army boots and petite on. But no, like I defend you here, but no, Cosby should have not been messing with them Europeans. I tell you every time.
Yeah, the snow bunny, that white that white lady, boy. Woo. Yeah. You got caught up heavy too. So you know how that go.
Yeah,
But
they ain't
we
trying to
hope
commit
you
no crimes with you. They're not trying to commit no criminal act with you, and they gonna roll over on you as soon as it get ugly or they get sick.
yeah.
Believe that. Telling a lot on you. Yeah, he gave me some of this. I don't know what it is, baby, but yeah,
And
they
if
ain't
they
gonna.
ain't hold up, if you made promises to take them along on the ride that you was on and they ain't make it, their career short, they need money, they rent gotta get paid. My man, you gonna pay or somebody gonna pay. But
No,
the
I
bottom line, like
with you. How am I in the bed with the crew?
yeah, yeah.
Out there wilding.
But like you said, he could have avoided all this. He really could have. Straight
Yeah,
up.
if he would have stayed home.
Especially when you're out, you know what? Especially when he was out there with the kids show, Fat Albert, teaching moral points and moral
Right,
lessons. And this is the
right.
shit that you were doing. But yet this is the shit you doing. Consensual or whatever. This is what you was doing. Seriously? That
Out there
that
talking
part.
about the black household. Yeah.
That
Doing
part.
and stuff, talking about history and a black, household and all this good stuff, and you over there
Well,
trying to find it.
like I learned the hard way when I got caught up, and seduced myself. This is the thing. Like the good Lord say, no man nor woman can serve two masters. You either rocking with me or you rocking with the devil. You can't be lukewarm and in between. Cause see, if you lukewarm, I'ma spit you out my mouth. True statement. It's a true statement. Because see, here's my thing. Let's say, again, he's talking about all that he did was consensual. But bro, you was cheating on your wife with all these different women, okay? Probably in some instances unprotected and with other people. Bro, come on, man. But yet you got a children's show. You up here teaching moral points on these shows. And again, this is what you were doing behind the scenes. I'm still looking. There's one story that's they never talk about. I'm still looking for the woman's name. But he had a show that used to come on PBS. I don't know if you had PBS out where you were, but PBS,
Yeah, we
which
did.
was public broadcasting system. He had a show that would come on there, the Bill Cosby show, I think it was called, and it was like the audience of teenagers, but there was one girl who made the accusation that from the time that she was 16 to her 21st birthday or whatever, they had an off and on relationship. I'm still looking for that one because that's another story that disturbed me because to her credit, she did describe something distinct on his body. You know what I'm saying? But again, that's where I'm stymied.
Wasn't that the
When
Oprah network? The OWN network that he was on or something like that. I know he was on the documentary network, like investigator. He was doing, um, he was the voice on there, but I know he was on the OWN Oprah Winfrey network, and that's on that channel too.
Okay. Well, let's continue in as the conversation continues, ladies and gentlemen. As you can see, we do our research, we search out the facts, we bring it to you, and we leave it up to you to make your choice on this issue concerning William H. Cosby. Innocent, guilty, what's your call? What's your take? As the conversation continues here in the Lion's Den. Run the video, Seventh Dancer.
One of the things that he thinks kind of swayed the judge a bit was that after Bill Cosby was found guilty, Cosby's wife made a statement bashing the judge.
I'm not going to comment on that.
Okay. Fair
Mrs. Cosby, this is a free country. She had a right to express her opinion on the trial.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be critical of Mrs. Cosby for 1 second on that. She was furious at the way this thing was conducted.
Mhm.
She was livid. She was right. And the Pennsylvania Supreme Court, in my opinion, has vindicated Mrs. Cosby and Mr. Cosby.
So then ultimately the judge sentenced Bill Cosby, and he was sentenced to 3 to 10 years in state prison, plus fine $25,000 and the cost of prosecution, which was like $44,000. Not a lot of money for Bill. That's not the main.
I'm not going to comment.
Yeah. But ultimately, he got 3 to 10 years in prison. When you heard 3 to 10, what did you think?
I was furious. I mean, this man didn't belong in this courtroom being the progressive injustice that went on in this case from the beginning, non-prosecution agreement, telling his lawyers and Mr. Cosby to rely on that agreement. It's set in stone. Then the politics intrude. Then an opponent starts advertising, I'll go after Mr. Cosby if you elect me. And then one thing leads to another. And if you look at this from a distant perspective, it's an outrage, all of it. One outrageous thing leads to another outrageous thing, leads to another outrageous thing. And the politicization of the justice system becomes overwhelming. And my team and I would talk all the time about just the manifest injustice in this courtroom and the record we need to make, and the way this judge was trying to spin everything, and the way the DA was trying to spin everything with unrelated accusations that can't be possibly investigated going back 30 years in other parts of the country. I mean, it was just a travesty of justice, a disgrace to the justice system, and it's been revealed for what it was, a bait and switch, something that should never, ever have gotten off the ground. And thank God it's been buried by the Pennsylvania Supreme Court's exhaustive, detailed, compelling opinion.
So Bill Cosby gets sentenced. He gets sent to prison to start his prison sentence. On June 25th, 2019, Cosby actually filed an appeal, right? Kind of shows that this was roughly 2 years ago when they filed the appeal.
Hey, bro, can you make me something that sounds like I just died, went to heaven in Japan, and some angel started singing to me?
Yeah, I got you, bro.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was talking about, bro.
Okay, correct me if I'm wrong.
2021, he was up for parole, but the parole was denied. And I guess
just real quick. I mean, all right. Okay, I get Camille. She's standing by her man, so on and so forth. But all that vitriol she had for the judge or whoever else, I would, if I'd have been, her advisor on the low, I'd have been like, look, hun, the only person you should be mad at is your husband. I don't want to, guilty or innocent, he been messy. Your man is messy. You shouldn't be. I wouldn't have had her talking about no judge. And look at your man. Your man is messy. All right. I mean, am I wrong for feeling that way? Let me know out there in the comment section. Look, he was messy. All this could have been avoided had he not been messy. Had he been faithful. They all vows you take in a marriage. Some say, well, those wedding vows they read are not in the Bible, but still, a vow is a vow. A promise is a promise. And typically, when you get involved with someone in a committed relationship, the first thing you're telling that person is, I'm now trusting you with my life. And if you vow to a person that they can trust you with their life, and then you go back on your word, you messy as all hell. Am I missing something? It's just a thought. Just a thought. But move on. Let's move on. Seventh answer. When you're ready, seventh answer, we can move on.
One of the reasons why the parole was denied is because Bill Cosby refused to take a sexual offender class in prison.
And he refused to express remorse for something he never did.
Yeah.
He refused to take these courses because he said, I'm not guilty of this. I never did this. He's a man of conviction. He could have played the game if he wanted to get released on parole to get out of there. And he refused to play any game. He said, I'm innocent. I never did this. I'm not going to say or do anything that suggests I'm guilty, because I'm not.
Right. I think OJ even spoke on it, said that Bill should have taken those classes and get out early. And Bill, you're talking about someone who's worth hundreds of millions of dollars, had been living, the high life for most of his life, is 80-something years old, blind, and he's willing to sit all 10 years in prison to prove a point.
Absolutely. This is a man of stellar conviction, stellar character. You don't see people built like this too often.
Well, if he was a stellar character, he would have got caught up.
Pennsylvania Supreme Court on an
let
agreement with the
me
prosecutor
calm down
prevented
now.
Cosby from being charged in the case and overruled the conviction. Supreme Court's decision prevents him from being tried again on the same charges a third time.
That's correct.
When you heard that news, what'd you think?
I was ecstatic, absolutely ecstatic. You know, I think most people who followed what the Pennsylvania Supreme Court was saying and doing about this case thought it was more likely that the reversal would be based on the unrelated accusers being allowed to testify, the judge increasing the number from 1 to 5 to deny him a fair trial, which is exactly what the judge did. Most people thought they would focus on those grounds and less on the agreement. But what they did was they focused on the agreement. And they said, if this agreement is binding and enforceable, there's no reason to get to these other issues because the case is going to be thrown out and can't be retried. And that's exactly what they did.
So explain to everyone what an appeal means. So from what I understand, when a judge rules a certain type of way and you appeal, a set of higher judges could actually review it and throw out that judge's decision.
That's correct. What an appeal is typically based on the transcript of the trial. You don't bring new evidence in an appellate proceeding. It's based on the plain wording of the transcripts. And another panel of judges gets the transcripts of the trial from day one till the end, and they and their staff and their researchers go through every page. They first look at briefs filed by both sides. The defense files a notice of appeal, notifying everybody that there's going to be an appeal. A schedule is set. The defense files an appellate brief. The prosecution files a response to that appellate brief. Typically, the defense files a reply to that response. And other documents are sometimes filed depending on what state you're in or what system you're talking about, federal or state. And eventually, there's oral argument after the appellate judges have a chance to read the briefs, read the transcripts, do their own research, their own inquiry into what went on and what didn't go on. And it's a process, a world unto itself. And eventually, the appellate body of judges will rule as to whether they accept, in whole or in part, the appeal.
How many judges voted on that in order to throw it out?
Well, there was first the appellate court. First, the appellate court in that particular jurisdiction in Pennsylvania denied the appeal.
Aha.
So a court of appeals denied it, and then it went to the judges of the Supreme Court, and they reviewed, as I said before, everybody's briefs. They reviewed the transcripts of the evidence. They basically looked at what had happened in the trial court, looked at what had happened in the appellate court below them, and they had an oral argument at one point, which was December 1st or 2nd of last year. And the judges who attended questioned lawyers for both sides. And, you know, it was pretty obvious to me that they felt this had been an unfair trial. Let me backtrack and say something else. The Pennsylvania Supreme Court only takes 2 to 4% of the appeals that are presented to it. In other words, these are cases where there was something happened at the trial level. It went to an appellate court, and then it went to the Supreme Court. They only accept 2 to 4% of the appeals that are presented to them. So that means very, very few cases progress from the appellate court to the Supreme Court.
Right.
They progress from the trial court to the appellate court, but very few to the Supreme Court, 2 to 4%. And if they take a case, you know they're very concerned about something. And they looked at all the issues raised by the...
Yo, I just typed that in and it made the whole track.
lawyers for Mr. Cosby. They decided to accept 2 issues out of all the issues that were presented to them. The 2 issues they said concern them, and the only 2 issues they said they would look at, were allowing 5 unrelated accusers to testify for the prosecution, in addition to the underlying accuser, and whether or not there was a binding agreement not to prosecute him that he and his lawyers relied on. The principle in law is called detrimental reliance. They were bothered by the fact that Castor had testified under oath that I entered into a binding agreement. And I told them they have to rely on that agreement and give a deposition. They were very bothered by both of those principles. The questioning at oral argument before the Supreme Court seemed to be more about the 5 unrelated accusers. And they did question rather strongly about whether or not there was a agreement not to prosecute, but it seemed like they spent more time and more energy on the allowance of 5 unrelated accusers. And so many people who watched it, like myself, said they think this was an unfair trial. They've made that clear. They're probably going to issue a ruling primarily on the 5 unrelated accusers. And various legal organizations were filing briefs with the Pennsylvania Supreme Court asking them to provide guidance in the future about when it's permissible for a trial judge to call unrelated accusers in a criminal case because it's such prejudicial evidence. I mean, the Public Defenders Association asked the court for guidance. So many legal organizations around the country were anticipating an opinion that primarily focused on the 5 unrelated accusers. And what we got was an opinion that almost exclusively focused on the agreement not to prosecute. And once they said there was an agreement not to prosecute that he and his lawyers relied on to their detriment, what happened after that was inevitable. They would have to say, you cannot retry him. We're enforcing this non-prosecution agreement. Now, if they had said, we think it was unjust to allow the prosecution to bring in 5 unrelated accusers, they could have said, you can try them again, but follow our principles of what's right and what's fair.
Yeah.
But the ruling basically was this should never have happened. It was a bait and switch. Mr. Cosby's right to fundamental fairness under the Constitution was denied. None of this should have happened. There should have been not one trial, not 2 trials, not an appellate process. He should never have gone to prison. He should never have been sentenced. They said it's all a nullity. The case should never have been brought. His conviction is vacated. He's to be released from prison forthwith, and he's not to be retried. It was a very powerful, very stunning decision that people around the country are still reading because they basically said, we're not going to allow prosecutors to put a defendant through a hustle, a bait and switch, a con artist type hustle, where now you see an agreement not to prosecute, now you don't. This is not justice. This is not America. And they seem very strong about what they felt should have happened and what should not have happened. But again, I'm emphasizing, as I have before, this man went through a charge, an arrest, having to find an attorney and a defense team. He went through all the rigors of pretrial process in a criminal case. He went through a trial. It was a mistrial. He had to do it again. There had to be a second trial. He had to go through the motions, the court appearances, the argument among lawyers. Then a second jury had to be picked. He goes through a second trial. They come back guilty. He has to be sentenced. Then the appellate process starts. You go through appellate lawyers. They make their arguments in the trial court. They make their arguments in the appellate court. They make their arguments in the Supreme Court. Meanwhile, he's languishing in prison for almost 3 years. And all of a sudden, the highest court in the state of Pennsylvania says, none of this should have happened. Throw it all out. Free him immediately, and don't you dare retry him on this case. It's a stunning set of events, but he should never have been put through this ordeal, ever.
Justice David Norman Wecht, who was one of the Supreme Court judges in Pennsylvania, said, we hold that when a prosecutor makes an unconditional promise of non-prosecution and when the defendant relies upon that guarantee to the detriment of his constitutional right not to testify, the principle of fundamental fairness that undergirds due process of law in our criminal justice system demands that the promise be enforced.
You know, there are terms that are used in constitutional law in America that have been used a lot and which the public relates to, things like due process, equal protection. Fundamental fairness is the equivalent of what we call due process, equal protection. Fundamental fairness means you have to look at a proceeding, and if it violates common sense, everyday notions of what's fair, it should not be sanctioned. And what they said was, how can you possibly let someone believe there's an agreement not to prosecute? How can you possibly let someone believe they have no Fifth Amendment rights anymore in a civil deposition, and then pull the rug out from under them after the defendant relies on the prosecution's agreement? And how can you possibly allow this mess to go forward? And they between the lines, you see, in my opinion, a total disgust with what was done to Bill Cosby. You have very, very learned, courageous judges at the highest level in the state who looked carefully at the trial transcripts, looked carefully at the briefs that were filed before them, and probably spent many months conferring among themselves. How did this happen? How do you have a DA testify under oath? I made a binding agreement and they relied on it because I told them they have to rely on it. How does it then suddenly get politicized, thrown out the door, and this horror show of justice or injustice go forward? It's a very, very unique set of events. And let me say something else.
Imagine being able to build anything just by thinking about it. Meet Base 44, a complete AI creation platform made for anyone with an idea and a drive to bring it to life. Describe what you want and watch it take shape. You can plan, customize, and expand in any direction. From tools built for one to platforms ready for many, from passion projects to enterprise-grade systems, everything is built in and ready to launch. It's a new world of creation, where you can go as far as your imagination takes you. Can you imagine it? Let's make your dream a reality right now.
Welcome to the new generation of web creation.
It was not reversed on a technicality. It was not reversed on a gimmick. It was not reversed on a arcane, little understood, little known procedural ploy. The first DA didn't just agree not to prosecute. He first investigated the case. He says, I used 2 police departments, Cheltenham and Montgomery County. I talked to my staff. I talked to our fellow prosecutors. I made a definite conclusion that this case should not be pursued in a criminal court. The agreement not to prosecute was based on that investigation and that substantive conclusion. It wasn't based on a procedural gimmick or a esoteric, arcane, technical something. The opponents of Bill Cosby, who don't like this, are trying to suggest that this was not a substantive look at whether he was guilty or innocent. This was not a substantive look about whether this case could go forward. It was a substantive look, and a decision was made the case should not go forward on the evidence we have, on what the law is and what the evidence is. That's what the agreement not to prosecute was based upon, a substantive investigation and a substantive conclusion not to go further with this case. This is not some technical gimmick at all.
Well, right. Justice Wecht said that the court's decision to bar prosecution on those particular charges are both very severe and rare, but he said it was necessary because even though society has a strong interest in prosecuting crimes, has an even stronger interest in ensuring that the constitutional rights of the people are vindicated. 2 other justices actually agreed with him, and they said in writing, which you've basically been saying the whole time, due process does not permit the government to engage in this type of coercive bait and switch.
That says it all.
Yeah.
It was a hustle. It was a political hustle that corrupted the legal process and resulted in years of injustice for Mr. Cosby.
Right. And they basically said that they could have permitted a retrial, but not use evidence from the deposition.
Well, that's what one judge suggested could be a remedy, but the majority said, no, this agreement is going to be enforced. This case should never have been brought. There's going to be no retrial.
Now, from the outside looking in, when you hear people commenting, the one thing that a lot of people would say is, well, Cosby's worth hundreds of millions. He probably paid off some of the judges.
Let me tell you something. There's a misnomer in society that celebrities buy justice that other people can't buy. Well, the reality is the opposite. If Bill Cosby hadn't been Bill Cosby, none of this would have happened. I call it celebrity injustice. Okay, if you're a celebrity with a lot of perceived power and popularity and wealth, you are a target. And if you look statistically, what happens to most celebrities who are prosecuted, most are convicted, not the opposite. You know, because O.J. Simpson was acquitted, because a few celebrities appear to have prevailed in the system, this misnomer of celebrity justice that can be bought appeared. It's exactly the opposite. You are a bigger target. They throw more resources at you when they come after you. I mean, in Michael Jackson's case, they had the FBI, they had Interpol, they had the local district attorney, they had the local police, they had the local sheriffs. They threw everything at him they could find to try and get him convicted. This is celebrity injustice, not justice. You're a bigger target of everybody's wrath or desire to get something for themselves. This case happened because it was Bill Cosby, a black male celebrity, a popular man with a lot of strong views on things he did and experienced and believed in. A man very popular, a man spent $200 million propping up black universities, helping people get educated, helping social causes he believed in. I mean, if it hadn't been Bill Cosby, I don't think this thing would have gone anyplace. And certainly the trial judge wouldn't have been making the rulings he made in a case of someone with no popularity and no publicity. So keep in mind, celebrities are typically subjected to attacks that they wouldn't be subjected to if they weren't celebrities. The state or the federal government will throw resources at them they don't throw at other people. And the majority of celebrities who are prosecuted in the criminal justice system are convicted either by way of a guilty plea, a plea bargain, or a conviction.
So does this mean, now that the charges were vacated, that Bill Cosby is not a registered sex offender?
He is not a registered sex offender. He is not a convicted felon. He hasn't been convicted of anything, and he can't be re-prosecuted. What the Pennsylvania Supreme Court said was this was a hustle, a bait and switch, and an absolute disgrace.
Well, Mr. Castor, the previous district attorney who made the deal with Bill Cosby, he was interviewed after the case, after the appeal went through. He said, I was right back in 2005, and I'm right in 2021. I'm proud of our Supreme Court for having the courage to make an unpopular decision.
That says a lot. And he was the district attorney of that county. He had the power to bind them, and he bound them. It was political opponents who tried to step in and unwind what he had done, and ultimately they failed. But they put Mr. Cosby and his family through a lot of suffering in the process.
Well, the prosecutors could actually appeal to the U.S. Supreme Court in Pennsylvania.
I'm not an appellate lawyer, and I certainly don't practice in Pennsylvania. My understanding is they can ask for reconsideration or something along those lines. From everything I've been told, it's likely to be very futile, particularly in a case like this. This opinion is about 77 pages. It was carefully thought through.
Now, there was a word going around that Bill Cosby might actually sue the state of Pennsylvania.
I don't know what his plans are in that regard at all. I haven't talked to him.
To start a podcast with Riverside, all you need is a concept and a way to record it. Here's how it works.
For his lawyer right now, and he said, I want to sue the state of Pennsylvania. Does he have a case?
I'd leave that up to his current legal team. I'm not going to interject.
Okay.
And I don't do civil work. I mean, once in a while, people ask me to get involved in a civil trial. But I generally don't litigate civil cases, so I would not be the one to consult on that.
Well, ultimately, this was a big blow to Me Too and the people who stand behind it. Ms. Constant, her lawyer, said the decision was not only disappointing, but also expressed concerns that may discourage those who seek justice for sexual assault in the criminal justice system from reporting or participating in the prosecution of the assailant, or may force the victim to choose between filing either a criminal or civil action. 8 of Bill Cosby's accusers say they're stunned and disgusted. They said the anger keeps growing and growing. One of them, Victoria Valentino, said, "I'm angry at the legal system. We put our necks on the line, and then the legal system yanked the rug out from under us. We are re-victimized time and time again through the whole judicial process," and so forth and so forth. But ultimately, the way I look at it is, this man went through the legal system. He did not pay anyone off. He did not escape from prison. He didn't dig a hole like El Chapo. He did his time, and ultimately he was vindicated. So whoever has a problem with it will just have to have a problem with it.
We all have rights under the Constitution. They're sacred rights, and we're all entitled to be treated equally and properly in the criminal justice system, and he was not treated properly at any time.
There's word that he's going to be doing a comedy tour.
I don't know anything about his future plans.
Right. And also there's a word that he's doing his own documentary, which I think is a fabulous idea, because
Yeah. And so, there you have it in a nutshell, ladies and gentlemen. And we leave it up to you to make your decision and your choice on the issue. My takeaway is this here. Okay. Much as I have always, and I still have respect and love for Mr. Cosby, he was messy on this one. I'm sorry. That consensual, otherwise, whatever may be, all this could have been avoided had he just been faithful to his wife, to himself, and to his family, and not got caught up in all that rigmarole he got caught up in. Okay? I speak from experience making, trying to make the devil my friend and knowing better. But, come on, man. At the same time, though, I haven't been, that person that was out there talking about somebody else being wrong and pointing a finger to other people, or, being, how you say, hey, kid, I wasn't doing none of that. That's my only takeaway from this, that he was messy. And it's not, and there come a point, as John Amos did say in an interview with Lunel, on Vlad, no matter who you are, you do reap what you sow. You do reap what you sow. Now, what I want to do is, since we're now we're now in our third and final hour. Hey, Seventh Answer, I want to play the Eddie Griffin video. I want to replay that Eddie Griffin video, and then we can call it a night. Again, we hope that you're enjoying this conversation here on the Lions Den. We went deep, we went technical, all right? But it's what we do. We want to make sure that we don't deprive you, and we pride ourselves on quality work and presentation. So what we're going to do is, as we're moving into our third and final hour, when Karima finds the video, it's an old video, but it's basically what I call a lament, by veteran comedian and movie producer and star Eddie Griffin. And his take on the fate of Black men in this country overall, not just entertainment, and why we got to do better and be better. But as you can see, right, this is a cautionary tale. Both male and female out there, now you see why it doesn't pay. It does not pay to make the devil your friend. It just doesn't. Okay, it doesn't pay to get out here being wild and uninhibited, because somewhere down the line, your addiction to sin, your addiction to sin can cost you. It can and it will cost you. You know, now that Mr. Cosby is now in the twilight of his years, you know, we hope that all you young folks out there, all you youngsters, all you out there aspiring to want to be a star or aspiring in whatever you are into, let this be a lesson to you. Let it be a lesson to you. Or if you're not into celebrityhood or whatever else, just living a regular life, let this be a lesson to you. It's good to be faithful. It's good to, you know, watch the company you keep. Not everybody who smiles in your face is for you. Not everyone who tries to coax you and goad you into doing things that you ought not to do is your friend. And it's just that simple. All right. Like I said, I am, you know, I'm still disappointed that, you know, Mr. Cosby got himself caught up again, because coming up as a child, watching him on television, the whole breaking down of history and so many things that he was involved with, and yet he forsook all that only to, you know, get caught up in messy foolishness that was unbecoming of him. And let me see this chat.
I keep telling you, none of these actors, celebrities, none of them leaving with their money. They all Uncle Sam. They made it. They got to give it back. It's just what it is. It's just what it is. No celebrity, no actor, no entertainer, no rapper. None of these people leaving without playing it forward and giving back the money, whether it's legal, whether it's blackmail, whatever. You are going to be broke when you leave them. You're not about to have any money. You're not about to be, you know what I mean, having cars and all that. They're going to break you. They won't take money back. You only have that temporary until they're done with you. Once they're done with you, they're going to find a way to get back that money. Remember I said they are nothing but credit.
Okay. Yeah. 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 Well, we're gonna play this video with Eddie Griffin, and it goes back. But you definitely right. It definitely looks that way, Seventh Dancer. It certainly looks that way. They make you, they break you, huh? And looking at all the celebrities who suddenly come down with a severe case of death all of a sudden. Well, this is an oldie but goodie. But Eddie Griffin definitely dropped it on this one here. Dropped a gem. So we're gonna take a re-listen, and then we're gonna come bring this to a close as the conversation continues, talking about what's on your mind. Take it away, Seventh Dancer. Fair use, y'all. Fair use.
You talked about Bill Cosby when you were doing Meteor Man. Did you have a relationship with Bill after that?
Bill, you know, Dr. Cosby, I'm gonna call him by his real moniker. Dr. Cosby is a class act. When I was first starting on the Malcolm Natty show, he called me over to the set of his show. And he said, yes, I hear you at Cancer also. I said, yes, July 15th. He said, I want you to sit down and study. It's obviously you're great, we all know it. But you got to learn the business, Eddie. Right? So I would go there literally for a week and study. And at the end of every rehearsal, he says, so what did you notice? I said, I noticed you would take the script, put it up on its feet, and then bring it to life, but add in your flavor. You didn't go just by the script. You knew the map, but you got there your own way, because once you get it on your feet and you actually interplaying with the other actor, other shit's gonna come out.
Yeah.
Right? The small little nuances that you can't write, a certain look, you know what I mean? A hand gesture, shit like that, right? So I'm watching that. And he was smoking study, his little stogie nigga, and laugh afterwards. Yeah, it's smart. He's smart. I like that. You know, we need more with brains. Right? So, which helped me, you know, transitioning from just stand up where I can say whatever the fuck I want to say. And then they hand this little nigga off the streets, you know, $100,000+ a fucking week, and then put constraints on the motherfucker. I felt like I was handcuffed every motherfucking week on that show. It was a living hell for me. So, but you know, Dr. Cosby helped me out with that shit.
What do you think, you know, your take on what happened with Bill Cosby, with the allegations and everything else like that?
Look, first off, you have to remember this was in the 70s. All right? I'm old enough to remember the 70s. The 70s is a different time, right? The 70s, motherfuckers all had Coke spoons around their fucking necklace. You go to the damn disco, nigga, the line is laid out on the table. Toot, toot, all right?
Yeah.
When you want to level out after a hit of cocaine, you get a Quaalude, all right?
Yeah.
So did he rape these bitches? All of them said the same thing. We went to the room. Why would you go to the room of a known married man? Number one.
Me, they're down to fuck anyways. Why would you go to a room, a hotel room of a known married man? And he incorporates this whole marriage thing in his comedy routines, and it's not a secret that he's married.
You understand me?
Okay. So they're down to fuck. Then they go back 30 years later and say, he raped me.
30 years. I don't understand that.
I mean,
that's like a motherfucker robbing me. And then I wait 30 years to call the police. I got robbed.
30 years ago.
In 1984.
Right, because if you notice, there was no...
And it's him!
Because it's past the statute of limitations, so there's no criminal charge.
There is a systematic effort to destroy every black male entertainer's image. They want us all to have an actress by name. Cosby raped a white woman in Colorado. Dr. Cosby raped 37 bitches and is still counting. Nobody leaves this business clean. Michael Jackson fucked little white children.
Michael Jordan?
Michael Jordan gambled.
Right, and then his dad got killed.
You understand?
They try to tie that.
You're not going to die clean.
I mean, everything that Bill Cosby has built up, the decades of work that he stood behind.
The man has, you know, single-handedly, you know, sent a bunch of brothers and sisters to college.
Yeah.
You know, even if he didn't pay for it himself, he gave them the idea that it's possible, right? The motherfucker was so generous with his money, he bought colleges.
I know.
You understand me?
I know that I've seen some interviews.
And then some pussy is supposed to tear that down.
I've seen some interviews with...
Let's talk about this little motherfucking white boy who's a known motherfucking pedophile, the director that escaped overseas. What's that motherfucker's name?
Roman Polanski?
Yeah, I don't see them fucking with that motherfucker.
Well, I mean, he's
back at work. Yeah, he's back at work.
He's like in Sweden or something like that.
Yeah, he had to flee the country.
Yeah. I mean,
Do you understand me? He got to flee the country.
Right.
Michael Jackson might have wanted to flee the country.
Yeah.
He didn't get to flee. There's a difference.
Michael Jackson was ultimately found innocent, though.
All three of the little motherfuckers came on. They're adults now. You can count them on the internet.
Yeah.
Saying it never motherfucking happened. Our parents put us up to try to get money out today.
I think one of them
Did mainstream media ever pick that truth up and put it out there?
One of them actually, I think, killed himself.
But a hearing.
Yeah.
I said, I done been to court when I'm figuring out how much time I'm to flee the country.
Yeah. I mean,
you understand me? He got to flee the country.
Right.
Michael Jackson might have wanted to flee the country.
Yeah.
He didn't get to flee. There's a difference.
Michael Jackson was ultimately found innocent, though.
All three of the little motherfuckers came on. They're adults now. You can count them on the internet.
Yeah.
Saying it never motherfucking happened. Our parents put us up to try to get money out today.
I think one of them
Did mainstream media ever pick that truth up and put it out there?
One of them actually, I think, killed himself at one point. I think. Well, one of the accusers or some shit like that.
Yeah. Because his conscience done fucked him up.
Yeah.
You can't run away from yourself. Everywhere you go, there you are.
One of your famous routines was Michael Jackson on crack.
Yes.
How
That
did
was one of his favorite jokes.
Okay, so you and Michael
I
talked
knew
about
Mike
that?
very well.
So Michael
He was
Jackson,
a very deep brother.
what was the Michael Jackson on crack routine like?
I said, anybody that fuck their face up like that got to be on something. Who knew it was propofol?
You thought it was crack.
Hey.
Okay. So Michael Jackson actually approached you at one point, or you approached him, or how did that work?
It was actually at Neverland.
You went to his house?
Yes.
Okay.
There was some kind of event going on. And I knew a friend of the family.
Okay.
So they brought me out to the house. And then Michael found I was out there. I was out with my kids and enjoying the Neverland shit. So one of the dudes came out and said, Mr. Jackson would like to meet you. I think they talking about Joe. I know Papa Joe from out here in Vegas. So I thought it was talking about Joe. He's like, no, Michael wants to meet you. I'm like, nigga, shit. So I'm nervous like a motherfucker, nigga. I'm like, shit.
You were talking shit about him.
Yeah, did you see the joke and shit? So he has a healthy sense of humor. He said that's one of my favorite jokes. So anyway, we got to talking and found out we both got elastic imaginations and shit, you know. And first time we met, the second time was in Miami. He was out there recording or something, and it was like a 5-6 star hotel. And we walked in this motherfucker. Michael rented out 6 floors.
Okay.
Nobody can get close to this nigga.
Right.
Never comes in the front door, always comes in the service entrance. So me and Damon Coke Daniels, we wrote My Baby Daddy together. So I take him out there because we're going to do the script. So we open the door, and I'm expecting security to be there right this way, Mr. Jackson. Michael opens the door. He had the tape on his nose. He's like, yeah, come on in. Coke just sitting there. Can't move. I'm like, nigga, come on in. So Michael's sitting on the bed. He's like, you want something to drink? I said, yeah, I'll take some champagne. You know, Coke, like, I just have some water. He's nervous, can't even talk right. So anyway, we got to bouncing ideas and shit. And my brother runs out the room. He's like, nigga, I can't believe y'all motherfuckers just finished each other's sentences and shit. So Michael's like, sit on the bed. I'm like, nigga, that's how you got in trouble. Sit on the bed.
Oh, so you're making pedophile jokes.
Like a motherfucker.
And how is he taking those jokes?
He's a real nigga. He's I think the reason he liked me because I would just talk to him like a regular person.
Right.
A lot of people around him would just kiss his ass. Yes, Mr. Jackson. Yes. I'm like, nigga, you ain't the only motherfucker that can moonwalk. You know what I mean? So, and he was just real motherfucker with a healthy sense of humor. Nigga, he can set your ass up.
Yeah, I heard Mike was kind of gangster. Like I heard Mike would like beat up his monkey every so often.
Let me put it like this. You know what's gangster? I own Sony's publishing. Every time Beyonce and Jay-Z make a song, Michael was getting a check. I bought the Beatles.
Yeah.
While I'm doing the video with the Beatles. That's gangster.
Right. With
Michael
Paul-
Walker to Paul McCartney.
Paul
If you're gonna
McCartney.
sell the Beatles, how much you sell them for? Oh, I don't know, you know, about 60 million. Wow, that's a lot of money. That motherfucker go right to his trailer, get his people on the phone. Paul don't find out till the next fucking day Michael done bought the Beatles. That motherfucker come on and say, how can you buy BOs? How can you buy BOs? He said 60, I gave you 64. That's a lot of money. The girl is mine.
Your publishing's mine.
This nigga's a gangster, nigga.
Michael Jackson was gangster.
You don't make $1 billion being no pop motherfucker.
Yeah. I remember I had this long conversation with Ronnie Newt. You know that one? Ronnie Newt was he was a gangster from the Bay Area, but he had a group called the Neutrons.
I remember the Neutrons.
Yeah, the Neutrons. Those were his kids, actually.
All right.
And I remember he was originally, I think, signed to Joe Jackson. So he was around Michael Jackson. He had pictures of, he was wearing the glove at his house and stuff like that. And I remember he showed me this picture. He said, listen, this is a picture of my son at Michael Jackson's house in his underwear. I took this picture myself. They tried to pay me $100,000 to say that Michael Jackson molested my son, and use this picture as evidence.
Mm-hmm.
I said, let me tell you something. Michael Jackson molested my son, I would have killed Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson never touched my son.
Nigga, and Bubbles.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nobody would have made it. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So
he said all that was bullshit.
I knew that from Jump Street. I was the only celebrity that went to court with the nigga the first day.
Mm.
Yeah.
You actually went to court with him
Yes, I did.
during the whole.
The nigga rode in my limo. He was so nervous he didn't book a car. I drove from my house in Malibu at the time down to Neverland. And him, Catherine was in the car. And I think it was Jermaine. And we pulled up and they had the fucking red carpet rolled out at the courthouse. Rows of motherfucking cameras. I'm like, nigga, is this a movie premiere or a court date?
Yeah.
And Michael was nervous, nigga. I was like, this ain't nothing but a hearing.
Yeah.
I said, I done been to court when I'm figuring out how much time I'm getting.
Yeah.
You walk in and say guilty or not guilty, and you walk the fuck out.
Yeah.
And the nigga walked out, jumped on top of the SUV and started dancing for the fucking fans.
I remember that.
The judge was mad talking about we late. If there's 10,000 people on the fucking street, we in the car, we on time, we can't get through the motherfuckers till the police show up and move the crowd out the way.
Right.
But he was a G. He stood up in that courtroom, niggas, not guilty, and did a dance move, nigga.
Yeah. So
Michelle
the takeaway, the takeaway from that, ladies and gentlemen, is what? Nobody leaves clean. And seventh answer, you're on this one. We're gonna delve into that more and more. But the bottom line is, as Eddie Griffin said, nobody leaves clean. There's always been an agenda, especially when it comes to Black and Brown Star, but especially Black people in this country, no matter what area, politics, you name it. There's always been a conspiracy. So, as we get ready to close out in these last 20 minutes, we hope that you've enjoyed the conversations that we've engaged in today. We were more laid back and let the videos talk and let the facts hit you. Okay? But again, we hope that you've enjoyed this conversation, and the court and the takeaway should be all of us have to be on our guard. We all have to watch where we walk, how we talk, who we keep company with. Because the bottom line is, no matter what your train of belief may be, evil is never, ever going to be your friend. No matter how much you try to make it your friend, evil is not your friend. Those who are evil are not your friends. Anyone who tries to seduce you and guide you and coax you into doing evil isn't your friend. I hope that's the takeaway from this issue. And yeah, you heard me voice my frustration in regards to the legacy of Mr. William H. Cosby. As he's now in the twilight of his years, but still, the brother was messy. He still was messy. And this should be, again, I'm going to use the word cautionary for all of us, that messy, when you're messy, and you don't take time out to clean up your mess, it's only a matter of time before all that garbage, all that mess overflows like a toilet. If you don't take time out to plunge and get rid of the excess water or whatever's blocking the toilet, it's only a matter of time before it overflows. And literally, your genetic trash, and figuratively, your genetic trash is going to be seen and smelled by so many others. It's not a good thing. Like I said, the seventh answer, we don't sit here as Mr. and Mrs. Perfect. It's not about finger pointing or trying to comfort anybody on a personal level, because we don't ever look for anyone to be what we're not. And that's perfect. But here we are, right? In this medium of communication. And we take what we do very serious. Over the years that you've heard us on the air, one of our mantras, freedom of speech, but responsible speech. And therefore, we take what we do very seriously, and therefore, we're not going to be messy on any level where somebody could come and sue us for libel, slander, or defamation. That's never going to happen. Why? Because we take our time and we understand that as public figures, we belong to everybody. And in belonging to everyone, the job and the responsibility is for us to aspire to live right, do right, be right as much as possible. Because see, again, you never know who's watching, who's listening. We could be somewhere. I have been in certain circles and in other pages, and my voice is recognized. Okay, when I used to do my own public access television show, I could be out in the wee hours of the night taking a walk, and there's somebody, hey, you. I'm like, okay. And I'm always, and I can remember my thought was, thank God I wasn't doing anything I wasn't supposed to be doing. Because again, you never know who's watching. And for all my Bible believers out there, you know, we got the Great Spirit watching at all times. And it's reputed that his eyes are 10,000 times brighter than the sun. So the whole takeaway from this tragedy regarding Mr. Cosby is, again, when you try to make the devil your friend, make evil your friend, you come out losing. So, this has been another episode of The Lion's Den, the segment titled The Conversation Continues. And we're your hosts, the seventh answer, Lady Karima. And I am your brother in faith and servant, Brother Malachiah, Big Baby Hebrew, also known as Dark Storm. We hope that this conversation also inspires you to do what? Get up off your duff and check things out for yourself. Why? Because from the start and end of every day. It's going to always be your spiritual, intellectual, and emotional responsibility. Whatever you hear, whatever you see, you examine and you check things out for yourself. It's just that simple. We thank you all for allowing us to come into your homes and for trusting us. Trusting us that you know that we're going to give you quality information, verifiable information, and that, again, we can't be bought, we won't be sold, and there's no corporate media entity that owns us where we have to prescribe coon and buffoon and teach you lies or tell lies or talk about fluff and things of no consequence. So thank you for trusting us. And again, we want you to hit that like and subscribe button. It's free. Hit the stars button, which helps Lady Karima as far as, financially, content. Sometimes this information costs. Acquiring this information costs. And like I said, we do what we do because we're dedicated, we are committed, and we were born to do this. And this has been another Virgo energy. Truthality listening experience. To all my night owls here on the East Coast, rocking out with me at 1 o'clock in the morning. Thank you. We thank you. For all our West Coast listeners rocking out, I guess looking at the 3 hour, so y'all are what, about on the 11 o'clock hour? 11 o'clock. Thank you. For all our international listeners, whether it be morning, afternoon, or about to be evening, thank you. Thank you for rocking out with us. And we're going to be right back at you. Seventh answer. Do you have any closing shots?
Please hit the like, subscribe to the channel, tell a friend.
Oh, yes. And also, make sure that certain forces out here have not unsubscribed you. And if they have, hit the like and subscribe again. Invite a friend. Share the show. Okay, that helps our numbers tremendously. And so in closing, one more time. From city to city and state to state without no follow-up, bleep, bloops, or blunders, when you tune to the Lion's Den with Lady Karima, the seventh answer at the helm, you are going to always experience intellectual, spiritual, and just everything all good. Miracles and wonders, baby. Miracles and wonders. And as always, like I said, make sure you check things out for yourself. Replay this show. Re-listen, re-examine. Because as the good book says in 2 Timothy, the second chapter, 2 and 15. Second chapter, 15 verse. Study to show yourself approved. And rightly divide not only the book of the Bible, but any hot piece and solid piece of information that you receive. And in the spirit that was once known in life as Don Cornelius, we sign off saying, Shalom. We hope that you're always going to be at peace. Aha. Because what we do is always a labor of sacrifice and love and napash at all cost. Watch over, protect not only yours, but everyone else in your circle's soul. And we are up out of here. Take us out with some original music, Seventh Answer.
I can't get back to it. It then closed out. So I'm just about to close off. Yeah. The Facebook closed out. So no music this time.
Okay, well, I can't sing and rap, so I ain't gonna hurt nobody's ears. So we'll just talk. We'll talk a little jive talk, all right, until the time runs out. Okay.
Notice.
Yeah. But I'm up here drowsy. You know, it's 1:05. Talk about
That's why
dedication.
I'm trying to make no effort to go to Facebook right now. I didn't accidentally shut it down. I'm too tired.
But you know what? And the thing is, I could recall when I was young, man, being up like this was nothing. Now when you get old, you get old, it's like your body's like, dude, it's time to go to sleep. You ain't young no more. You can't do that no more. All right? Like, that's the only downside to getting old. You know, you really do start to slow down. Yeah. But anyway, for all y'all listening, I'm gonna check on out Seventh Answer. You got this. Come on, I don't want to fall asleep on the A&B. So peace, y'all. Peace.